This broadcast is brought to you by Logitech G, Motorsport Australia, Play Seat, The Gamesman, OG Gear, SimSpeed TV, Speed Cafe, and the Australian Sim Racing Group.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG Gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually
Well, it's been 12 months since we last raced the mountain in Logitech Pro Invitational category, although it was only just a few days that the mountain roared to life for the co-driver clash. Tonight, we are going to be deciding who will start off of pole position for tomorrow's Bathurst 1000 for 2024. Throw in the middle a little bit of Porsche Cup racing action as well to give you a little bit of more taste of the racing action we might see tomorrow in the support categories. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to qualifying night for the 2024 Logitech Pro Invitational Bathurst 1000 and the grand finale of the True Force Endurance Cup as well. My name is Scotty Rankin, off alongside of Sandman once again. And Sandman, you love this place because I know you're standing right next to a picture, a moving video of it. You love scrolling through this place.
G'day, Scott. G'day, everyone, wherever you're watching around Australia, around the world. This is the pinnacle of our sport, isn't it? Bathurst Mount Panorama. Doesn't get much better than this. There's a few times I say throughout the season that I'm a bit jealous of these guys that are racing and I don't really want to be in the commentary box. This weekend's probably one of them. It doesn't get much better than Bathurst, and to do 161 laps and have a co-driver and battle it out and tackle the mountain the way we do, it's one of those races that really gets the shivers up the spine, and mate, I cannot wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be honest. There is one track I can drive in the supercar, and it's this one. Everyone always says to me, Scott, that's so weird. You know, you're up against the fence. It's really, really difficult. Yeah, I've done laps around here. It's the only place I've actually put the time and effort into the car. Look, I think tonight's going to be really, really interesting in terms of things. It's going to give us a taste of what the conversation is like in terms of Sunday, but it's only a taste. It's only qualifying, and there is 1,000 kilometers, and there's a lot to come. And what do those 1,000 kilometers look like? They look precisely like this 6.2 kilometers worth of racetrack, all the way out in the central part of New South Wales is Bathurst. The journey out here, many have made the trip to Mecca on the mountain over many, many years. And I can finally get to say in February I'll be one of those. Because I've never been, Sandman, but I know that you've been, and I know you've recorded a podcast live from here as well.
Yes, I've been lucky enough to make the trek to Mount Panorama, not only for the 12-hour, but for the Bathurst 1000. How can you not go to it? It's in our backyard, and it's one of the most impressive racetracks, I think, around the world. We're so lucky to have it, and you will absolutely love it as you take a look at the track map on screen. So many twists and tales, and just to think this is a public road, and we get to race on it, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah, there's actually some dodgy history that goes on to why this place was actually built all the way back when, because the money that was actually sequestered away to build this racetrack maybe necessarily shouldn't have ended up that way, but such was the timing. They used to race on public roads in and around the region, and eventually they finally managed to get some money put away towards this racetrack. It was originally a road up to a lookout all the way up the top. Got some expansions it's been added to over the years, including the chase, the kink at turn 20, all the way down through 21 and 22, which shortened the length of Australia's longest straight in motorsport. Although, that doesn't diminish the amount of trials, tribulations, pain, and gain that you can find around this circuit. Think about the moment when Craig Lowndes whacked the wall at turn 5 all those years ago, leading the race, 20 laps into the thing, really didn't need to be pushing that early, and he'd already broken out to a substantial lead. That is the mindset that some of these drivers get into. They really push the margin. Sometimes they'll take them too far. The big thing is when we get to shootout time later on, any little mistake cancels that lap. You'll be starting from the back end of the 15.
Absolutely. And the mistakes, unfortunately, tend to happen at the top of the mountain, don't they? You know, it's such a tight, twisty part of the racetrack, almost pretty much single file as much as we'd like to make as much racing as we can across the top of the mountain. But if you saw us on Wednesday's broadcast, I said about the track map, you can pretty much cut it in half and not worry about this section so far. This is where the race is won and lost. And we saw so much drama here on Wednesday night, and people just having a go and just really trying to make the most of maybe fresh tyres and everything else. But yeah, you think about this whole racetrack and you think, my goodness, you know, if you could just get a car that works really well in this part of the section, that's probably half your battle, isn't it? Because it's just so tricky through there and very much single file racing.
But the way that setups have evolved over the years, I really, really like this part because it's a game of chess, isn't it? And then it's a meta game on the game of chess. You already start breaking the strategy wide open. They used to try and run the wing as high as they could get it, because exactly like you said, and then the strategy changed. Somebody went, hang on, you can only pass down the straight bits, and you just got to survive all the way across the top. So all of a sudden, the setups became trim as much wing as you could physically get off the car and survive across the top.
It's crazy, isn't it? I love how much it's evolved over the years. And like you said, everyone plays with setup and wing, and one year it's this and 1 year it's that. And one thing's for certain is that it's going to change again next year, because obviously Gen 3's on its way. So it's the last time for these cars that we think that we don't want to say it's guaranteed, but we imagine that this is probably the last time we're going to see these cars on Mount Panorama before we switch to Gen 3. So again, these teams and drivers are going to have to go through a big setup change again, revolving around the new car.
Yep, and that's going to come with a lot of trials and tribulations. The other side of that coin, though, is it does mean that tonight will be the last ever shootout night from Mount Panorama. Indeed, it will be the final shootout night, theoretically, in terms of this car. So tonight we will be celebrating all things that are V8 supercars and have been V8 supercars over the last 10 years. One of those is the car on screen at the moment. The old Tats Lotto liveries, and there's a lot of trials and tribulations that have gone on for Jake Burton throughout his tenure in V8 supercar racing in Australia and the sim racing world as well. This livery was popular, and it was also back when a time period when we had a lot of interest in V8 supercar racing in Australia on the sim.
Absolutely. And back then too, like this is off the Tattersalls.com paint scheme back in the day. And to think that there was an organisation like Tattersalls getting behind sim racing and sponsoring a team back then, it's actually really cool to think about and see how far we've come. And we were talking about this with Hobbo on Wednesday night, is that it's actually really cool that we've got to a point in sim racing now where we can have some genuine throwback liveries that aren't just sort of make-believe, or we're stealing from Scafie or Brocky from back in the day. These are actually genuinely our own paint schemes back from the retro era, and I love it. And it brings back a flood of memories, doesn't it?
Yeah, here's another one of those earlier ERT cars as well. The Trans-Tasman racing cars have always had that iconic sort of white, black and red paint scheme, but for Evolution Racing Team, they've been through a host of colours. We saw earlier on in the season as well from Sandown, Bo Albert running his academy race team livery in the Hornets back when he was first just a rookie and just getting into things, and quite a lot of coaching with quite a lot of work. Look what he went on to do. And then there's this one. This one brings up a host of memories. And Sam, you're the better one to take us through these.
Well, this is before my time too, but this is something what. Look at, you even see the one behind that Richard Hansed's driving as well. Look at those 3 paint schemes that you can see in shot, or 4 even. But there's so many cool paint schemes, and that TTR have gone a couple of different ways. You can see on screen Rick Cadet's stuff. That's a for me. That's a HRT livery that I absolutely adore. But and we're absolutely blessed that these teams have embraced that. It's not only a thing for the race car era in supercars, but for us too. It's really something special, and I'm thrilled to see all these different paint schemes and the efforts that the teams have gone to.
They always get right in behind it, don't they? They just really, really support it. Brian Borg's out there enjoying things. I'm really lucky to get to be a part of the V8 veterans community, and of course the owner of the Chubby Buns Burgers franchise out of Sydney as well is Jim Caperonis. He comes on board. He's a big supporter of WKMP Sim Sports as well, and they jump on board. But look, they had me won over when a food sponsor got involved, and I've always been asking Jim the instant I show up down in Punchbowl in Sydney, when will I get my free burger? I haven't made it there, but I get the feeling I will. I love it. I just love the effort that goes into all the liveries up and down pit lane. And again, we're getting into the final stages of practice because qualifying will be starting here in about 5.5 minutes' time. Andrew Gilliam's currently sitting on top of the board, has managed to go out there and set a 2:03.330 to put himself atop of the practice time charts. Have a look at the margin, though, between James Scott and Jared Filsell, 0.003 of a second.
It's crazy, isn't it, to think about that you lap around this track and the times can be that incredibly close. It's ridiculous a little bit, isn't it? Because there's so much time to be to be won and lost around here. When it comes to a margin of that small, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, there's been an update as well for Jared Filsell, was looking to be racing this weekend with Brodie Kostecki, and at the 11th hour, unfortunately, something's gone on there, and there has actually been a co-driver change. Thomas McMillan will be stepping behind the wheel, which means that for Jared Filsell, he's had a co-driver that's put in a lot of work, a lot of practice, and now he's been forced to sort of reset. There'll be a lot more focus. That car had the single strongest driver pairing up and down the pit lane, bar none. It wasn't even close in terms of things, and it gave them such a huge advantage throughout the True Force Endurance Cup, whereby they could just pick whoever they wanted to put in the car at whatever time they wanted to put them in there.
It was one of the combinations that when it was announced, everyone just went, oh, hands down, that's who's going to win it, straight away, because obviously we know how strong Jared Filsell is. We know what sort of talent Brodie Kostecki is, but I guess coming into Bathurst, Brodie hasn't had the cleanest of runs. He's been caught in some drama, and even from what we saw on Wednesday night for the co-driver shootout, that he got caught up in some incidents. He had a start from, even though he claimed pole for the race, he had to start from pit lane, and I don't know what the circumstances were that leading up to missing out on tomorrow's race, but it'll be a reset for Jared, but I think he'll bounce back. He'll still be strong. Doesn't matter who's driving with those Lobs cars. They're a pretty strong outfit this season.
Well, they do actually credit Brodie with doing a lot of the setup work and really being a strong engineering part of their outfit. One of the strengths behind Lobs is not just the drivers that are in the Pro Series. It's the experience, it's the strategy, it's the ability to really engineer a car, and they sit there and they tinker and they tinker and they tinker. And a few of these guys have got a little bit more time on their hands that don't necessarily work the same sort of 9 to 5 like we do, have that opportunity to go and tinker with the cars and get them a lot more dialed in, and that's been one of their biggest strengths thus far. I've enjoyed seeing Ross Rizzo. Ross Rizzo is another one of those names that I've done a lot of commentating on over the years. I always like seeing him back in the car, but how about the lap from Josh Anderson puts himself all the way up to be the best of the non-Lobs esports cars, all the way to 4th on the timing sheets. And probably worthwhile noting as well at this point in time, for those of you who are just joining us, we will have a slightly different qualifying format tonight. We will be running ourselves a shootout. However, it's not a top 10 shootout. It is a top 15 shootout with a number of cars, a number of drivers that we actually have in the field. As an opportunity to expand that out. We have a few more cars than are going to Bathurst 1000 this year, so always get a few more cars in when and where you can. It adds to the spectacle, changes things up. What it does do is it adds to the pressure cooker situation.
Absolutely. I think it's good that there's that opportunity for other drivers to get involved too, and it really mixes things up because, let's just say, someone just scrapes in the top 15. Let's just say they have a bad quali run, they make the top 15, but then the shootout goes amazing for them and maybe others struggle, and instead of starting where they may have started out at 15th, there's a chance at possibly a top 5 or who even knows at a pole position. You just don't know. That's the beauty of the shootout. It's easy to make that little mistake. Oh, and speaking of mistakes, into the wall hard. And thankfully it's just practice where they can use the escape rule. But that's what I'm talking about. It's easy to make a mistake just like that. And, your day can go from an absolute cracker, to a nightmare or vice versa. Whereas if you just make that top 15, anything can happen in that shootout and you could be on for a really decent result.
I was actually reading back across the coverage from last year as well, and was my first ever full-on weekend with the series after being called in at the 10th hour to work on the Sandown coverage. And Lockie Mansell and myself were working on it. We heard 14 of the 15 drivers come in at the end of their top 15 shootout lap and say, not quite happy with that. There was definitely a lot of time left on the table. So the only driver that was happy was James Scott when he walked away with the pole position. So other than that, it's 14 drivers left unhappy, and anything can certainly happen when we come through qualifying. The other drama we had last year as well was a procedural issue, which I think we managed to get away without it causing too much drama. It's a different qualifying format, and what that does mean is that there's a procedure, there's a policy that you need to follow. You've got to make sure you dot your I's and you cross your T's.
Yeah, and look, we're in a situation where, like you said, these procedures, sometimes they're a little bit monotonous, but they have to take place as far as just making sure that we get the grid right. So things like that, a little bit out of our hands for the moment, but we know iRacing will advance and we'll be able to sort those issues, later on in life. But yeah, it's all something that you just need to be mindful. And I guess it's one of those things as a team, you've got to just think about every certain scenario and making sure you don't make mistakes. And those procedural ones is definitely one of them.
How cool is that? Less than 2/10 covers the top 6. That's how tight it is. Lap time in excess of 2 minutes. And they're only covered by 2/10 of a second at the end of all that. Every team, every driver going with a slightly different combination. And how is the traffic jam as they clamber out of pit lane? We are going to have ourselves 30 minutes of qualifying here tonight, up from the usual 15, depending upon track length, split into 2 different sessions. So it will be a full 30 minutes in terms of qualifying, and it is time to get out there. Important though, because that lends us a few more laps, particularly when the lap time is about 2 minutes, and that out lap is exceptionally long here tonight as well.
Yeah, and look at the traffic that you have to deal with too if you're not up the pointy end. Thankfully it's a long enough racetrack where they can sort themselves out, but these drivers, and I guess some of us at home, you'll be surprised how quick this half an hour goes for some of these teams, especially if you don't, every week or every round we talk about making sure that you get a banker in. This place is definitely one of those because it's such a long out lap. If you make a mistake, then you've got to head in, get a new set of tyres, have your out lap again, stay out of trouble, then start your hot lap again. You can give up a massive chunk of time in that half an hour, and before you know it, you're scrambling at the end, just stressing that you may not have put out a decent time.
It's really, really interesting to see as well is that Phil Sells was the first driver to fire off from pit lane. He's gotten a long, long way out of there, and he will lead the chain when they start their first qualifying laps. Matthew Bowler's already gone with them. Oh, well, but probably keeps it in front of all cars as we look for some drama.
Trying to feed their way through. It's kind of gentleman's agreement. Everyone's giving each other plenty of room, but it's a little bit of heart and mouth stuff, isn't it? It's just making sure that you're trying to pluck your way through. You obviously don't want to make contact with anyone. 1, because the stewards won't be impressed about it. 2, your team won't be impressed about it, or the bloke you hit won't be impressed about it either. But everyone's managed to get through there, and it looks like Jared's going to be the first to cross the line. And we said the time ticks away. What are we at? Nearly 27 and a half minutes to go, and we haven't even started a time lap yet.
Yeah, so we've already lost 2.5 minutes for the bulk of the field. They're going to be still another 45 seconds or so away. Phil Sells going to fire off from Murray's corner on the run down at turn number 1, Hell Corner. When we get here tomorrow for the first time, you are going to have a horde of V8 supercars all trying to fire out in there. 3 wide, potentially on lap 1. Survival out the other side, the biggest key. The run up mountain straight as you shift through the gears. You'll bounce yourself up and over the crest at the Petters Bridge. Then it's about applying the brakes down around the 100-metre board. See how late you can absolutely brake. Was it the road on the left-hand side? Light fuel loads as you tip into Griffin's Bend. Then it's the climb up towards the cutting. We saw an incident here on Wednesday night when Richie Stanaway tried to go down the inside, didn't have quite enough overlap. Can you park it up next to the wall? Drive out the other side. Don't spin the tyres as you bounce across the bumps. Then it's up through and underneath the tree. Keep it to the right-hand side. Carry the speed out to the wall. Don't tag the wall on the left-hand side, Sandman, because that's so easy to do.
Mate, the cars move around so much there and there. And you can just see everyone's right on the edge, especially Jared. You can see, but that's where the time's made, when you can get up as close to those walls as you can, or a little bit of a drama back behind him. But that's what you need to do. Just get millimetre perfect. Just as I say that, looked like he might have scuffed that inside wall there at the dipper.
Yep, so that'll be costly. That will delete the lap time. Matthew Bowler went a straight line, did a course cut as he come down through the S's, got off line, had to abort the lap. Now his priority is going to be trying to tow Bo Albert all the way down Conrod Straight here. Then he'll abort. He'll jump out of the way and let his teammates on through. Will be the opportunity. Conrod Straight, you take a breather. You set yourself up, because then you've got to be hard on the anchors when we get all the way down to the tail end here, the chase, the kick. Set yourself up for it. Dive hard on the brakes. Pull the car up. Make the apex if you can. And it's back to the right-hand side. Finally, the run back down to Murray's once more underneath the Armour All Bridge. What's the time going to be for Phil Sell? Will it be valid? Then you've got to try and race back around the track to go and grab another fresh set of tyres. First times are going to come through. Will they go on the board? Phil Sell does manage to put the time on the board, 2:03.317. Faster than his time in practice. So he's managed to find a tenth of a second already. That is no banker. I tell you what, in behind, Robbie Gibbs just found a couple tenths of a second as well. He's improved his lap time. Bo Albert, though, 2:04.007. At the moment, he'll be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's managed to get away. I was a bit surprised that I was pretty sure that Jared did get away with and finish that time, because he did, because he wouldn't have gone on with it if he hadn't have if he got an off track or a 1X or something. But yeah, you can see there's a couple of drivers that just started down the pit lane, because there's just no point. If you get a 1X or something like that and your time gets deleted, you're better off just heading straight down the lane.
Be a busy night at the office as well. Qualifying tends to be the cleaner side of things, but there's generally one or two moments that will keep the stewards busy throughout the duration of this session as well. So, I said, Albert's probably going to be on the outside looking in with that time. Indeed he is, all the way down to 19th. Riggs rounds out your top 20. Jake Burton in 11th spot. 3/10 of a second off the pace, and he's outside the top 10. That's how tight the first lap of qualifying is here tonight.
Yeah, and it's going to get scarier. Like I said, that's only the first lap. So as these drivers get round and punch out some more laps, you talk about that time that Burton did. I think he was fourth in practice. So you know he's got pace on his side, and 3/10. Yeah, he's probably going to find a little bit more as this session goes on. But yeah, it's crucial, and it's already showing that the times are going to be incredibly close as this session goes on. Have a look at this. This is when we're on board with Jared Filsell just taking it right up to the concrete. And that's exactly what you want. Millimetre perfect. But have a look at the car behind. Just sideways.
That's Matthew
There's so
Bowler.
much time.
He comes through there. And then Bo Albert's the same. That's where his lap time would have really had to come out of somewhere right there. He's lost a boatload of time. And Gibbs was a lot more accurate when they got up and underneath the tree. So he's made a little bit more time through 5 and 6. Now they'll all dive back into pit lane. I believe that's Tom Freer just ahead. Triple ones back into the pit lane as well, which is this is going to be the second part of the train. By the way, 7 minutes already gone. And we're just getting back to the lane to start the second round of qualifying. So we're going to get 4 attempts at this in terms of laps.
Isn't it funny? You look at it on paper and you think 30 minutes, man, like a half an hour. Got all the time in the world. But then when you get put in the pressure cooker and you got 30 to 40 of your closest mates that want to sort of beat you within a pulp too around this racetrack, it just gets tougher and tougher. And it'd be interesting, it's probably going to be at the 20-minute mark before they get round to start their hot lap again. So, yeah, time quickly ticking away.
Think about the co-drivers, and as I scroll a little bit up and down through our Discord where everyone is here tonight, I can see there's the 95 Sim Sports outfit. The co-drivers are probably all a little bit relaxed. They might be off practicing perhaps for the Porsche Cup racing action a little bit later on in the evening, because none of their co-drivers have effectively just got Brody Sentence as the only driver that's in attendance there to assist them with qualifying. Another group of ERT drivers, no co-drivers in and chatting with them. That's Bo Albert, Ethan Greengold, Ian Ford and Robbie Gibbs. They want to be quietly left alone to go about their business. Then you've got the other group, and this is generally considered the larrikins amongst the ERT drivers. You've got Matthew Bowler in with a host of co-drivers all having a little bit of a time, and Bowler would have been certainly having a little bit of time on the way across the top on that lap, which showed the activity. Then this is the way that Lobs do it. They just all like to be in one Discord together, talking, communicating, working together. That's just their team nature. Synergy Sim Racing, exactly the same mindset. They like to go about it as a big whole group, big team. Trans Tasman Racing, they're all a bunch of brothers as well. They're doing exactly the same with Millions, also the same all the way down the bottom. So that just sort of gives you a little bit of personality. Is this Heimgartner out of fuel, or is he waiting for a time?
No, I've been watching this. I think he's probably just waiting for someone. If he had an issue, he would have called the lane. So he's going to push on. I don't know if he was waiting for someone for a little bit of aero, whether he's got some dramas. No, he's ready to start his lap now, but it's a bit of a late start. But hey, I think he knows how to drive a supercar. I'm not sure.
Yeah, debatable. We'll have to ask him later. I'm going to race this year, so...
I'm
We'll have to ask him later. What a race this year, so... 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 What
But no, he's going on with it now. So whether he was making some adjustments before he started his lap, whether he was waiting for someone and then realised it was probably a bit too much of a margin, but look, he's going on with it now. Yeah, I can't see any issues. So looks like he's just got a nice little bit of clear track now and doesn't have to worry about anyone being in front of him.
I'm going to throw something out there, a little bit of fun. Well, the big trend actually, really interestingly, if you have a look at your track map, I don't know if you can pick it up quickly, the large trainer cars have just come off the road straight. So what he has actually done by delaying this lap is he's actually made sure that they will definitely clear and they will get off the field before he gets there. So there'll be no traffic, there'll be none of that. I also wonder whether or not, as we all do, got our pets in and around the sim rig. Occasionally they can call into the racing action and whatever has it.
You're probably right. I think you're probably thinking about that, and you look at that track map there. That just shows you that exactly where he is on track. He's going through the top of the mountain. If he had pushed on, yeah, he may have come right into the thick of that traffic. So that's actually not a bad shout. So it's probably something that Andre and TTR were all over and just said, you know what, probably worth just backing out of it a little bit. And now he knows that he can push on. It's been a fairly tidy lap, and that's the last thing you want, especially if you start to get purple sectors. I haven't seen these times at the moment, but if you're getting purple sectors, the last thing you want to see is some lap traffic in front of you holding up in the last couple of turns.
So he's definitely cut out. So he is completely and utterly good to go. There'll be no issues with that one whatsoever. So on the run down through the chase now, and into the final couple of corners under the Armour All Bridge from Andre Heimgartner. What's the lap time going to be? Is it quick enough to put himself inside the shootout? As the wildcard entry rounds Murray's corner. Andre Heimgartner to the line, 205.252. And you did make a point there, Sandman, that he was a little bit late getting that lap rolling. I wonder whether or not he's cost himself at least 0.2 of a second on the run out of the final.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that you do like to have a little bit of technical on the tyres just to get on with it. So with him sitting, it was a very, very slow start lap. He's hidden away with it a bit. Who knows? The good thing is he can still benefit and he can push on. He'll get back to the lane, put on the new set of double off.
Interesting to notice, because the synergies of racing cars and it's forcing the other sits inside the middle. It's only one of those cars. So we'll be contesting the top 15 shootout. The other side of the coin for 956 Sports, they've got an identical at the moment. He's not had a lot of time at the moment, though. Andrew Gilliam is absolutely flying. All sectors are showing up all across the board for the driver of the 201. The racing engineer by day becomes supercar sim racing star by night. For Andrew Gilliam, sits 7th of the timing sheets at the moment. He will come through the chase up underneath the Armour All Bridge. Anderson completes his lap. It is going to be an improvement for Josh Anderson, but everyone else is putting in new fastest laps at the moment as well. Here comes Gilliam, 9th on the timing sheets. He's just been shuffled a little bit further back. What's it going to be? 203.210 goes second because James Scott just jumped to the top of the timing sheets. That will be a very tough lap to beat. Last year's pole time was a 202.9 in the shootout, and he is exceptionally close to that now.
What does that do for the top three? Look at that. Lobs, top three. So James Scott, Andrew Gilliam, Jared Philsell. It's a pretty strong top three. And, we were looking at Andre Heimgartner on the screen before. We touched on the supercar drivers that we've got in our field. But like we touched on with Andrew Gilliam, big slide there from that TTR Commodore. That's still sliding. He's made contact. So Steady's just kissed the inside of the wall there. Look at him up on the wheel. This is one of the driver cams that I love. This bloke, doesn't matter when he's on a hot lap or a cool lap, he gets right up on the wheel. He's having a red hot go. You can see that he's got, look in the mirror, you can see he's got the pressure from behind. But have a look at him climb up all over that steering wheel.
He does sit a long way up to Steady as well. He's a character, he's a larrikin, and Shane Van Gisbergen has actually invited him to come along and sit inside of his race car because of some of the antics that they get up to over on those streams as well with Steady. He is awesome to talk to, and if you let him, he will talk your ear off. He is not afraid to have a chat about anything supercars related. He's not afraid to speak his mind. Be that a positive aspect, be that a negative aspect, Steady. But we love him all the same.
Yeah, what I was trying to touch on before that got a little bit wild is that, yes, we've got supercar drivers, but how lucky that we've got Ed Gillian, who's now in the supercar fold as an engineer as well. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. He's been talked up by the one and only Ludo Lacroix. So, I'll tell you what, if you can get a pat on the back from Ludo, you must be doing something right. So, yeah, it's cool to have him and these supercar drivers in the series, and it brings a little bit more touch realism in our series for everyone who's watching at home.
Yeah, but try keeping up with those guys, because they've now got Kostecki, Van Gisbergen and Gilliam all working on setups. Steve Pasquale behind the scenes. Stand away. Honestly, you don't need to add any more talent to that team. They've already got enough. Can we spread it out a little, please?
But the one thing I was watching Logitech series podcast before we came to the mountain tonight, and some of the drivers relish in the fact that they've got such a strong team at Bob's, because if you manage to get the job done on them, I guess it's a little bit more of a reward, isn't it? Knowing that they're obviously a bit of a powerhouse, and they're getting stronger as they go along. They've got good people behind the scenes, and to have the commitment of like Shane Van Gisbergen, who's behind the scenes helping him out too, obviously in a different time zone these days. That's big commitment for him and that team, and yeah, it's really showing on track.
How about the vote of confidence as well for Shane to be overseas and still committed in that? That says he believes in the program. Because you wouldn't be doing what he's doing. And it is a superpower for him to be up and be a part of this. You don't do that. You don't do that unless you believe in what's going on, and Shane truly does.
He does that. He loves his racing. There's no doubt about that. But he loves his sim racing. He's been doing sim racing for a long time too. So he obviously gets along really well with everyone in that team, and yeah, to have that sort of commitment is really cool. And they're a strong team, and everyone's going to do their absolute best to take it to them. But like you said, James Scott coming off last year's win with Shane Van Gisbergen, and now here he is, James Scott, currently top of the timesheets with 13.5 minutes left in qualifying.
I think it's worthwhile noting as well, how about the rookies in the field? Well, Albert's listed as a rookie in the field because he is a rookie in this field. Has not driven a supercar in a fair while, and he said at the start of the year this is a challenge that he really wanted to take on this year, something that was going to challenge him and force him to continue to work on and evolve his driving talents. I said a couple of weeks ago he's the only driver to hold multi-discipline World Championship licenses. I was proved wrong. Like, within about half an hour, there was a few people in my inbox going, no, that's not him, there's more, there's other drivers in it amongst him. He's part of a very, very rare breed that's gone on to challenge in rallycross, as well as, I believe, PESC as well. So, he's a talent. He's a rookie in this field, in the supercar. It's not his car, it's not the car that he feels the most comfortable in. But I tell you, in terms of our championship standings, he actually leads the way for all of our rookies.
Yeah, it's funny when you put his name and mark with rookie next to it, exactly what you're touching on. But hey, it just goes to show that these things are a beast to ride. They're not easy, but enjoyable at the same time. So when you're getting people that race other fields and then decide to get in behind the supercar, I mean, it really shows. Yeah, we'll look at it 3 wide at some of the manoeuvres down the straight. Everyone just trying to jostle there for a little bit of position. Some people want to team up with teammates here, use a little bit of a draft, but the last thing you want to do is get too close and start tripping over each other. But isn't it interesting just to see who's teaming up with who here?
Yeah, it really is, and just moving up and down. My apologies, it wasn't PESC. I'm going to sincerely apologise. It was VRS GT Endurance World Challenge, which was previously the Motorsport Enduro GT series. So, yeah. It's all together in notes, a little bit of wires crossed for these drivers as they start another flying lap. They've probably only got time for one and might be a second lap towards the tail end of this session if they're lucky. So this lap is certainly going to count. Jake Burt sits inside the top 10 at this point in time, but now he is going to be at the head of the queue, and he is going to be the driver handing out the toes. Brady Myers in behind him. It was a 3-way stoush for race victory on Sunday last year after 1,000 kilometres. Come down to 1.5 fuel stints race. It was James Scott versus Madison Down versus Brady Myers. Myers had control at the track position. He also got raced incredibly hard by James Scott, and then it was on. The other two had to come back at Scott. Come back at him they did. There was paint traded, but it was all fair, all square. And boy, I tell you what, it is my favourite race I've seen for this series so far.
It's crazy to think, you look at some of the names throughout TTR. Here we are, we were talking up Lobs, but the names that you go through with Trans-Tasman and exactly what you were talking about with that race and the run that he had last year, he's definitely going to, it's hard to pick anyone out of that whole TTR. Everyone in that TTR stable is going to be strong. And the thing that excites me a little bit is seeing Jake on screen, and he's obviously having a good run, but how good was the run from Emily Jones on Wednesday night? That's who's co-driving with for tomorrow's 1,000. She did that for a stellar job on Wednesday night, and was stoked just to see the sort of pace she had on board. And I think between herself and Jake was fourth in the time sheets leading up to qualifying. He's seventh at the moment, and I reckon they're going to be a strong pairing. But it's, like I said, it's hard to pick anyone outside of that TTR fold. They're all a very good driver pairing, no matter who you call out.
It's incredibly nice. I love it every single time I hear it. Yeah, you're right, there is talent up and down the field at the moment. James Scott is on for a new fastest lap. He will go all the way to the top of the timing sheets. 2:02.940, new fastest lap. Dylan Rudd actually set a purple sector across the top of the mountain, all the way down to the end of Conrod, and I wonder whether or not he was actually able to improve on that lap. I think he has. He's jumped all the way to 7th spot, so it's an improvement from him. Rosella's improved. I tell you what, Josh Anderson has improved now as well. He jumps all the way up into 3rd spot. Addison Down was a little bit higher, so he hasn't been able to improve on that most recent lap. But at the moment, James Scott's got him by 0.2 of a second. And the Lobs Esports cars, they have purple in Sector 1, it's with James Scott. Purple in Sector 2 goes to Dylan Rudd. Purple in Sector 3 goes to Luke Rosella. 3 separate drivers, 3 separate cars with purple sectors, and something's happened to Chad Lewis is qualifying for Marcelo Rivera.
Man, he has got massive damage to that Logitech Commodore. He's just going to try and get back to the lane as quick as he can, because if it blows up when he's on track, that is no more bueno for him. He'll be out, done and dusted. But looks like he's going to get back to the lane, but massive damage. Let's see if we can catch a replay. Exactly, thank you, Jay. The OG Gear replay. What's he done? Oh, he's had a wiggle. He's bounced up over the curb. Bang! Oh, heartbreak. And it's easy as that, simple as that. That can happen on any lap at any time around this racetrack. Thankfully, he's got back to the lane and he can have another crack at it. You see, look at the car wiggle there, bounce on the curb, upset it, nosed it, and that's heavy damage.
I'll tell you that he's been struggling this week. His Chad Lewis has sort of been handing the keys to the car and said, right, here's the setup, we're going to have to run this and we're going to have to do. Chad's struggled at Sandown to bring himself up to speed, really struggled to just try and find himself. He's a driver certainly can have his flash in the hands of speed in a V8 supercar, but he knows that he's probably a little bit in the deep end this weekend. He was in the deep end back at Sandown as well. He's trying the setup and the style of car that they're running. He just said, I just can't do it. It's so difficult. I feel so uncomfortable in the car. Adapt. Yeah. That's just, you've got to. If you don't adapt to this setup, the way we're going to have to engineer the car for you to get pace out of it, we're going to be so far down the order. So he is struggling, and he is doing his damn well best, but that's what it takes.
Yeah, well, the scary bit is that if you haven't quite got on top of your setup for qualifying, you're really going to be clutching at straws before the race starts tomorrow morning to have a car settled underneath you, because we obviously know that everyone works pretty hard behind the scenes to get the car as comfortable as they can for this one. And we spoke about it in the opening part of the race too, is that the top of the mountain can bite anyone at any time. And like I said, you cut this track map in half, and you don't worry about the bottom half. You worry about getting that car stable through that top part of the racetrack. And yeah, geez, I worry for drivers that aren't quite on top of their setup at the moment.
36 cars around a lap time of just over 2 minutes, covered by 1.8 seconds. There is very not much in this. I can tell you, I wouldn't be qualifying inside of that 36 at this point in time. So congratulations to them. I'll just sit over here and lay down any hopes they ever had of being a professional sim racing driver.
That's why I'm in the commentary box. I've had a crack at the mountain a couple of times, and it's never gone that great. Actually, it's been 8 years ago yesterday, I think, that I teamed up with Emily Jones and we tried to take on the mountain, and we didn't have much luck, unfortunately. But yes, I get very jealous of these drivers this time of year.
I had a crack last year. I was in top split actually on the official Star Racing 1000. It was going well until the last 10 laps, and then it all fell apart. Hey, we were inside the top 10 and top split. I can say I did at this stage. Finish with we all have those. What I love about this event is that we all have a moment in this place. We all have something in the back of our mind. If you were to ask any sim racer what has happened to you at Bathurst, what you would have, unless they're brand new, they're going to have about 5 or 10. Every single sim racer is going to be in this place. May not necessarily be in this car, but they can tell you something.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, mine was in this car, and it's exactly where we just saw that crash, that replay of that crash. That's where Josh Muggleton and my race ended about 8 years ago, and we were on target for a top 5 finish, and it was about lap 143. Yeah, we might even see if we can. It's probably is somewhere.
So
bring me
for
the
those of you
tears, probably.
sitting at
I'll have
home-
to go to counselling, but
Our producer just queued up and said he's got a replay of that one stored out the back on tape. We have to go back out and dig out a VHS to get that one up, but we do have it.
But we were on target for a top 5, and unfortunately, Muggo got caught up in someone else's incident right at that. Oh, Teo.
That'll be it for
Mark.
qualifying. I mean, he's got enough time, actually. He's got enough time to get back into the pit lane. Right now, for Teo Sorono, no lap on the board, which is why we were riding with him on that lap. No lap in the session right now, and that's cancelled another lap. The problem for him, we've got under 4 minutes left in the session. He's got to race back into this lane because he's going to get back here within the next minute to have enough time to get out to start the final lap.
So yeah, I told you, time to tick away quick. We're only got 3.5 minutes to go. That's crazy.
Then it's on to Porsche Cup action, and then it's on to the top 15 shootout. Top 15 shootout's one of those ones that you've just got to be you've just got to witness it. There is no other way. Ethan Greek Gold sits inside the 15 at the moment, but this will probably be the final run for the bulk of these drivers. They're not going to get back down to the pit lane to give themselves enough time to have another crack. I can tell you there's another car that's actually out on track at the moment as well that's still yet to set a lap time, and we'll get an update on who that one is in just a few moments. But Pack at the moment rounding through Griffin's Bend. I'll tell you, Sorono's made it back to the lane. The number 21 car with Chad Lewis behind the wheels also failed to set a lap thus far. Brian Ward was the other driver. Sorry, my apologies. Chad Lewis has set a valid lap time. Sits down at 37th as it currently stands. Brian Ward is on a fast lap as he runs down Conrad Straight at this point in time. We've been riding on board with Ethan Greek on the old Maverick livery on their very, very earliest days of Evolution Racing team. Bit of a wiggle in behind. So it's all on. It's on the limit. It's right on the edge. There is time that is running out, and for a few of these drivers, they will not get one more lap in. If they're in this chain, this is it. There is no other lap. This is your final opportunity to get yourself inside the top 15 shootout. Will you make it? What does your grid position for Sunday look like? For Ethan Greek Gold, times are okay to this point on the lap. Can he find a little bit more time? It's not going to be good enough to put him right up to the top of the timing sheets, but could it be good enough to see him through to the second part of qualifying? At the moment, it is going to be an improvement. Will it be inside of 202? It'll have to be a mega lap if he's going to find it out the final corner. Bill Sell's going to pop to the top of the timing sheets, so he'll shake it up. Madison down jumps up there, gets inside the 202. We had one driver a few moments ago that had managed to put a 202 in. Madison down pops through and puts one in as well. And Jared Philsell, 3 drivers popping into the 202.9s. At the moment, Richard Hampstead is our 15th driver, sits on the bubble. Kobe Williams for the 053, co-driver of Hayden Bell. There's damage to the right-hand side of that car. And it's not going to be a valid lap time for him, but he'll have one more crack. This is it for him.
He caught some curve and it looked pretty impressive for the photographers there, but my man, just unfortunately he didn't get that time, but he's going to have to push on. But the scary bit is, like you said, these drivers, if they've done and run a time now, there's not enough time to get back to the lane, and you've pretty much taken the goodness out of those Dunlops, so there's probably a fair chance that we won't improve. So we may have seen our top 15, and like I said, Richard Hampstead right on the bubble. He'd be hoping that no one else improves.
Well, Brian Borg still hasn't set that valid lap time. Neither has Teo Sorono. They're currently on times as they run down to the tail end of the lap. I think Sorono's got about 30 seconds to start his lap time, so he will get it in. For Kobe Williams, capable of getting it inside the top 15. Will he bump Richard Hampstead out is the question we all ask. Forza El Nabi is a top 5 capable car on his day. Outside the 15 to start this race at this point in time. He could be the first of our qualifiers that don't make it into the shootout, you know.
How's that little bit of a wiggle?
Borg's done. Borg's qualifying's done. Borg is into the lane. His qualifying's done. No time for Brian Borg.
Kobe's still wringing the neck here. Replay. We're hearing that. Oh, Kobe's run wide. And this is where, as he made contact, got away with it. Made a little bit of contact, slight contact there, but got away with it.
So that's the reason he's carried on, because he wouldn't have had enough time. Checkered flag is now in the air. And Richard Hampstead still on the inside. Tell you what, Brady Myers is going to be the second of our drivers to take the track for the top 15 shootout. Last year, he was second last. He had the second fastest time from the first part of qualifying session, and Williams will not set a time. So he's failed to set a time. Sorono, I think, is the only driver that has failed to set a lap time that's still out there at this point in time. So Brian Borg and Teo Sorono will contest over who are the final drivers in the field. Blake Delaney's qualifying the car alongside of Thomas Freeman. We'll see if he can set a valid lap time. There is 3 cars left in this session who can deny Richard Hampstead from being the first car to run in shootout later on, and Andre Heimgartner is one of those.
Yeah, he's still struggling a little bit back there, back in 34th position, but still on a lap here by the looks of it. But I think you'd almost say that probably Richard is safe. He's still probably just holding his breath just till we see those last couple of cars either cross the start-finish lane or head back to the pit lane. But the session's over. No one's going to start again. But it's a big ask, I think, for these teams and these drivers just to bump Richard off.
Finally down through the chase. Flick back to the right. Under the Armour All Bridge. Andre Heimgartner is going to need a strong lap time. He hasn't set a very quick time to the session thus far. Liana Murray is on the run to the line. Sorono will be through in behind him, and that will conclude our qualifying session. Does improve, only improves 1 place, takes a 10th of a second out of the lap, and Teo Sorono manages to set a valid lap time. So for Andre Heimgartner ahead, he jumped 1 spot and then immediately lost that one again to Teo Sorono. So the 15 drivers are in, and your top 15 shootout for later tonight is going to be in reverse order of how you'll see them. Jared Filsell from James Scott, 7 thousandths of a second. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me between those two? Madison Down will be third last out. Josh Anderson, Andrew Gilliam inside the 5. Dylan O'Shea, the best of the 9.5 Simsport cars. Luke Rosella and Griffin Gardner complete 5. Doing okay lobs cars inside the top 10. Ethan Griegolt will scrap into 9th place, the first of the ERT cars. Rick Kuznetsov, the second of the 9.5 Simsport cars, guarantees them 2 cars inside of the top 15. And we'll keep an eye over for the next 5 cars, and these will be the last of the drivers who will get an opportunity to improve or perhaps slide down the qualifying order later on tonight. Dylan Rudd manages to go to 11th fastest from Jake Burton, Jake Maloney, Brady Myers, and Richard Hampstead. I can't believe Myers is that deep in the field. He will not be happy with that qualifying session. That's your 15. From there on back, Forza El Nabi, Bo Albert, Robbie Gibbs, Kobe Williams, and Matthew Bowler are going to be locked into those starting positions from 16th to 20th. Outside your 20 is going to be, I believe it's going to be the 115 of Ian Ford will be the next driver on the list from Jordan Ross. Blake Warboys in the solo entry for WKMP Simsports from Kurt Stenberg. Stenny had a few issues in that qualifying session. Scott Campbell has a reasonable session ahead of team boss Sean McNamara in the 9.5 Simsport cars. Adam Briggs from Wayne Burke out of 27th to 28th. Tom Freer and Luke Mitchinson are going to round out your 30. Final page of your qualifying entrance is going to be Damian Johnston from Teo Sorono, Andre Youssef, Andre Heimgartner. So the 2 Andres together on the grid. Michael Angus, Tyson Broad, Blake Delaney, and Chad Lewis, your 38 entries for qualifying. Of note, I have seen that there is no lap time there from Zach Rattray White, who did enter the session did not drive during the qualifying portion of that session. So Rattray White will probably come from the rear of the field.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's our lineup. Obviously, everything from 15th back. But you know what? At the end of the day, there'll be some people that missed. Be obviously a little bit disappointed that they didn't make the top 15. Everyone obviously wants to make the top 15 shootout. Everyone wants to grab pole at Mount Panorama. But at the end of the day, 161 laps around here, we know that pole ideally doesn't probably mean a race win. It doesn't guarantee a race win. So we've seen people come from further back outside of the top 15 to win this race. And that's what some of these drivers will be doing. So, yes, they might be a little bit disappointed, but it's not over for them. It gives them a chance now to sit back and enjoy the top 15 shootout when we see that a little bit later on. But they're now, the times now, it's impressive by some of these teams. We can see the Lobs guys there obviously very quick. And, it's going to be a good call for that top 15 shootout. It's going to be an absolute ripper.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible to keep an eye on later on in the evening. Although, for now, we're going to step back and do something a little bit different. And I was about to say, I think, Sandman, you've actually got a few of the details on board for us here tonight. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as part of our support coverage through Bathurst Week this week, we're going to be bringing you Porsche Cup action on behalf of AOG. And, Sandman, you've got the details in the G-Hub.
Yeah, something a little bit different for our shootout. Obviously, everything on a Saturday night is all about qualifying and the top 15 shootout. But we're going to mix things up a little bit with some Porsche Cup racing. So we're excited to see that. This is new for me. I haven't seen much of this series. So a little bit of racing as these guys settle down and get ready for the top 15 shootout. So, and some of the names that we've got involved in our series that will be racing tonight, well, they're going to be names that, you may be familiar with in the supercars as well. So just a couple of names that we've gone through, some of the drivers to possibly watch out for. It's going to make for some thrilling racing. Porsche Cup never disappoints. And to when these guys get a chance to tackle the mountain, we're going to have 2 races tonight, and it's going to make for some great racing. We haven't made this as our top tier and who we think is going to win. We've just put it in numerical order. And if you've got a driver at home that you're supporting, make sure you let us know in the chat. And no doubt they'll be thrilled about racing around the mountain just as much as we are. We're excited to bring that race to you very shortly.
Yeah, so important to note, Job Stewart as well is going to be in and competing. Matt Stewart, Josh Thomas, Marino Morella, who I actually got to see and driving in person, Harry Lawrence from Zach Rattray White, Ireland, Broad, Shepherd. There's a whole host of names from your Australian sim racing regulars. And don't forget as well, ladies and gentlemen, should there happen to be a little bit of spics and specks on the windscreen, it may not necessarily be rubber that's been flicked up off the road. It could be rain. The Porsche 992 Cup car does have the wet weather tyre enabled. Sandman's just given a very cheeky grin. He is super keen to see some water off the surface of the road.
Isn't it funny how the commentators in the commentary box and everyone in the broadcast team are like, yeah, bring on the rain, let's do it. The drivers and all the teams are sitting there going, no, we're quite happy with the conditions. We'd be happy for a nice dry racetrack. But look, that's the beauty, isn't it? That and this is something that our teams and our series is going to have to think about come next year, because we like to think that Gen 3 is going to be on its way. And then we're going to have, obviously, weather that we're going to have to contend with too throughout our championship. So I think a lot of these times, drivers and teams will be reveling in the fact that they've got a dry Mount Panorama, and they know that that's a guarantee for race day come tomorrow. But it may not be the case come next year.
It could be the last time that we see Bathurst without any weather forecast. So, it's the last time with the ZB and the Mustang in together. But it could also be the last time without rain. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to step away for 5 minutes whilst we get you all the action from qualifying coming your way in just a few moments, right after this.
The Racing Series is a new milestone in Logitech G.
All the great old wheels, the G29, the G920, the G923, they all have their own unique way of connecting to each other, but there's no room for expansion with those products.
So the question arose was, what if we were to give the opportunity for the racer to switch out from a drifting wheel to a GT rim?
With the wheel hubs that we created, that's got a very specific button set, but you can replace any of the steering wheels.
And the real lovely aspect to this was we could give the user, driver, and the racer the opportunity to experience different genres of race.
That allows drivers to craft high quality, customized setups that resonate with your individual racing style.
When we start with the design, we always start sketching. But very often, once we've got sketches, we start discussing with engineering.
We had 3 rounds of engineering testing or user testing where we invited in users from sim racing, and every single round of feedback we refine, the product based on what they tell us.
In this sim racing lab, again, we're going to use data to really analyze what a driver needs. We've used everything from eye tracking to the inputs from the pedals, the inputs from the, let's say, input devices, the wheel and the pedals, the shifter. We're taking that and we're compiling it so that we can build different products based on those individuals' needs for all consumers and all drivers.
I don't know of anyone else in the industry that's actually doing this kind of research into their products to see how their products are affecting the performance of their users.
We've built the product to make sure that it's as reliable as possible.
So the innovations in engineering that I'd say we're most proud of is the sequential handbrake and shifter toolless changeover. This is now a patented system, so it's really easy for the user to just switch between modes.
If you give people the tools to do what they want, they will. They will just go off and have fun.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on the simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually in the
Cup's on track, and we're going to see some of that racing brought to you shortly. But it's 2 races tonight. We've got an 8-lapper and then an 18-lapper. And the 18-lapper is going to be a top 16 reverse grid. So that will make things a little bit interesting and shake things up. So it makes me wonder, how are these guys going to play it out? Are they going to go hard in that 8-lapper and then maybe strategically position themselves somewhere where they know that possibly that reverse grid might help them a little bit later? Who knows? But it's going to be a lot of fun. Porsches around here are really, really good car to drive. And to split this up over 2 races, and I think we've got a 20-odd car field, it's going to make for some great racing here around Mount Panorama. Thankfully, there's no rain, so with the teams are breathing a sigh of relief there at that moment. But, yes, it's definitely going to be an interesting race, and looking forward to calling all the action with you, Scott.
Boo, 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 boo and hiss. Just, you want great racing, just add water, as I always say. Look, it's going to be an interesting race coming our way. 18 laps is going to be the duration for number 2. That's a huge moment. Yeah, as he comes around Philamy and for Shannon Fever, qualifying down towards the tail end of the field. At the moment, we have a number of issues in terms of qualifying. At the moment, I can tell you Ben Pedersen sits on pole position with a 2:06.996, so about 4 seconds off the pace, nearly identically compared to where the supercars were just a few moments ago. In terms of over an overall lap, that's relatively close together as Pedersen cuts his way down through the S's. Tyres of the Porsche Cup, they do get a little bit hot and spicy at times. Nearly cutting through and getting his nose chopped off was Ryan Jones. Pedersen got through there nice and cleanly. The 553 machine of Fever is still sat there in the dip and causing issues. I can tell you, Pedersen just at a purple sector on the current lap all the way to Griffin's Bend. So he was a very, very quick start to the lap, had to abort it halfway through.
Yeah, it's always the kick in the guts, isn't it, a little bit? You see, it's getting a little bit foggy here at Mount Panorama, but yeah, when you're on an absolute screamer and someone's had a moment in front of you, you'll know all about that. But yeah, it's just unfortunate, but that's how it is. And the difficult thing is when you're a car and you're stranded, especially at that top of the part of the racetrack, it's very narrow up there, and if you're sideways, you're just trying your absolute best to try and get out of there as quick as you can, because it's so narrow, and you just hold your breath and just hope you don't get nailed.
Yeah, it's difficult to say the least as they make their way up through that section of the racetrack. In the meantime, 1 minute and 30 seconds or so as the drivers cut their way through the qualifying session. At the moment, we didn't see Zach Rattray-White qualifying earlier on, but he is out there and in participation behind the wheel of Porsche Cup car. Somebody's just jumped up ahead of him. It might have been Chris Ireland who just positioned his car about 200ths of a second quicker than Rattray-White into 3rd spot, so that'll drop Rattray-White back 1 spot. Hard cut at the end of this qualifying as well. As soon as that checkered flag will fly, the session will be over. So these laps have got to be finished, and they've got to be finished now.
Yeah, so in saying that, so where a lot of these cars are not coming down the mountain, this will be their last time. So they're all desperately trying to get that time in. They have done that, but like you said, if they start climbing the mountain now, that's it's going to be a hard cut, and that'll be over. So 2:06.997 for Ben. Looks like he's holding on at the moment. Trying to see if anyone's going to be able to pip him, and just as we say that, Zach Rattray-White goes out with a 2:06.970.
So he did drop down to 4th spot in terms of the running order. Will now jump up and take pole position. I can tell you, Pedersen is on a flyer at the moment, really, really quick across a couple of the different sectors throughout the lap, but he's not going to have enough time to put that lap in. Matt Stewart just finished a lap as well, manages to jump himself to 13th. Marino Morella just jumped 1 spot up, moves himself inside the top 5. There's only a couple of 100ths of a second between himself and Dylan Shepherd. Mazzomo's inside your top 10, and I like to throw him under the bus, good old Simon Mazzomo, but it appears he does have occasionally blips of talent. That's the only compliment he's ever getting out of me, by the way.
You be careful for payback, mate. He'll come and get you.
Indeed he will. Ladies and gentlemen, qualifying has now run to conclusion. Your pole position for your Porsche Cup race number 1 is going to go the way of Zach Rattray-White for Millionaire Esports. Ben Pedersen is going to be off alongside of him. Full send Motorsports entry on the front row. Byron Phillips for Eclipse Sim Sport will be off alongside of Chris Ireland in Eclipse Sim Sports, and DPR Racing row number 2. row number 3 is going to be made up of Marino Morella, and Dylan Shepherd will be alongside of him. Row number 4 is going to be that of Luke Swan for 9.5 Sim Sports. Joshua Horton for the Vermilion Motorsports car will be alongside him. And finally, your final round inside your top 10. Summer Mazzomo does make it inside the 10 alongside of Corey Bennett. Outside the 10 now becomes 11th spot David Clark. Tyson Broad will start alongside of him, JWM Motorsports car. On the inside of row number 6, Matt Stewart and Ryan Jones on row number 7. Jones improving his time late in the session. Dylan Gray, just outside of these guys, gets inside the top 15. Harry Lawrence will be alongside of him on row number 8. Row number 9 is going to be that made up of 17th place car of Dean Jacobson, and alongside of him is going to be that of Greg Patrick. Inside the top 20 is going to be 19th place Shannon Fever, who had that massive moment down through the differ, and Dan Mirko is going to be out of 20th spot. Jackson Barry is going to be your 21st driver in the field, and I believe we've got one potentially from the rear, which might be that of Jake Santalucia, if he is indeed in the session. We'll keep an update on that one for you all. And that is qualifying all done and run, ladies and gentlemen. There'll be a few moments here, but Porsche Cups, they're going to swing around in the rear end, and they're a different breed of race car here, Sandown.
Absolutely. A little bit of fun too. I've had the pleasure of just, in my own time, just cutting a few laps around in Porsche and at Mount Panorama, and they've been very enjoyable, but you've really got to sort of be a little bit precise, I think, and sometimes with these guys, when you've got a couple of your closest friends, when you're having a good hard battle, it's going to make things a little bit tricky, but I start to wonder about how they're going to think about how this race is going to unfold, and if they've already got their mindset thinking about the reverse grid.
Yeah, this will be interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, they form their way up in terms of gridding. There's going to be 3 minutes worth of gridding, or about 45 seconds to go. That means that we can talk to you a little bit about what's changed in the world of iRacing over the last few weeks. One of those is we now have natural clutch variants. If you ever sat down in your sim rig and gone, every single time I pull this machine off the start, it feels exactly the same, that will be no longer. You've got a chance to have a clutch with a little bit of wear and tear on that one. Means you've got to baby that clutch all the way out. You can't just set it to a bite point, release and go ahead. Then there's also the pre-warmed tyres. Preconditioned tyres is the exact terminology used by iRacing. What does that mean? Well, you've had a formation lap done on those tyres, a little bit of extra heat. They're not stone cold as if they've been sitting in tyre blankets. And ladies and gentlemen, the lights are going to start to come on from the front end of the field. We're missing one driver out of 6 spot on the grid, so we're going to be losing a driver from the front end of town, which will be, I thought it might have been Marino Morella. Indeed it was, out of 5th spot on the start grid. They will roll off the front row. They did manage to get a good start there for Rattray White. Will try and get away. Does feed in nicely. The 69 machine of Byron Phillips, I believe, has managed to just feed in ahead of Christopher Island for 4th spot as well. That will be a one to keep our eyes on as they feed up the hill. Cold tires and flat sixes. This is Porsche Cup racing action from the mountain.
Yeah, first time as they climb the mountain now. You can see a couple of cars there just moving around a little bit, trying to get some of that temperature in these tyres. They're all quite well aware of exactly what you were touching on, and you don't need any silliness, just especially here in the opening lap. They know that they've got their work cut out for them tonight. Don't need to do anything silly, and probably just a bit of smart heads-up racing for these guys as they climb the mountain for the first time.
Zomo's going to try and slot his way back in behind Joshua Horton. Horton looks to have gone and grabbed a few spots, or at least trying to, in the opening lap. Rattray White again leads us up and underneath the tree for the first time, nearly in the barrier for the 669 machine of Pedersen, who had pole position all the way up until the very tail end of the session. Now they'll feed down in. Who is going to manage to generate some tyre heat in those front tyres as they all struggle to try and keep the cars online? Have a look at the pace, though, from Ryan Jones.
Yeah, he's all over here just moving around. And that's one of the things that I like what these drivers do is just take it. You know you're going to go single file, but move that car around in the mirror. Just make the driver in front of you think that you're probably going to think about sticking it up the inside when you're actually not. If you can get a driver and distract them enough where they're looking in the rearview mirror more than they are out the front windscreen, that can definitely work in your favour.
I wonder whether or not Matt Stewart might not have had a great run through. There's a car blocked in the dipper, by the way, back up in the background, and it's the 77 machine of Greg Patrick who's had an issue. He's waiting for Shannon Fever to come on by. There was another car that was backwards. Marino Morella made his way from pit lane, by the way, so he did start. Corey Bennett was another one of those cars. I believe Dan Mirko got the wall at the elbow, and Greg Patrick, I've had a few chats with Greg Patrick. He took to an Indy car for the first time a few months ago, and I enjoyed filling him in on all the details as he was learning his way through oval racing action. But Porsche Cups at the Mount, not playing nice with the 77 machine tonight.
Oh, a little bit of damage there too. We saw him crank it on the wheel, and yeah, looks like that thing is not tracking quite right. You can see it moving around. Unfortunate, but that's how easy the mountain can bite you.
Bite. It has done 8 laps for the first heat as well before we go reverse grid for our top 16. Dean Jacobson at the moment sits in pole position for race number 2. 18 lap affair, but up at the pointy end of things at the moment. Rattray White's got a little bit of control. Pedersen's managed to close just a touch. Had a better run through Murray's onto the front straight. So Rattray White's done okay in terms of straight line speed, which you wouldn't expect from a little bit of a tow. Aaron Phillips in behind, starting to get quite close as well. This top 4 made a reasonable breakaway when Dylan Shepherd's pulled onto the back end of them as well.
Yeah, it's important just to get that little bit of margin. If you can just take that pressure off yourself and know that you haven't got some extra cars hounding the back of you. That's what these guys want to do. Just slowly start to eke out that little bit of a margin. But here we are, top of the mountain for lap number 2 of 8. This race is going to go away so quickly on them. So they know that they need to stay in touch, but at the same time, they also want to get the passes done. But then again, they start thinking about race 2. Where does that put them? Do they want to be aggressive here at the moment, or are they actually quite... Oh, big drama, top of the mountain.
Here we go. It's all on. Josh Horton's now been involved, and there's another car. I think it might have been Luke Swan. Horton is just parked. Horton is totally parked on the right-hand side of that shot. Will be driver's left as they crest Skyline. In the meantime, there's been a huge bingle. I think Pedersen looks like he's had a huge moment back up in that race lead. Yeah, it's close.
And that car that was just trying to avoid the incident just actually made contact to the inside wall there. I wonder if this is going to bring out a safety car. These cars, race control will be talking to them just to... Yeah, look like no one's going away from that. Unfortunately, big damage to those two.
Yeah, I can tell you safety car has been deployed, so we'll see that one in action. And there's a few guys who are still making their way in through the final couple of corners, trying to put some... Oh, it was off the curb.
Bang! Oh, he had a massive tank slapper. Luke had a huge tank slapper. And unfortunately, Josh just had absolutely nowhere to go. Jeez. That was massive. That was huge.
That was a huge incident, yeah. Just to arrive there and not much can be done. McLaren GT4 safety car in operation has picked up the field. This should probably just be the 1 lap worth of safety car. They might just do this nice and quickly. And we'll only lose 1 lap worth of racing action. Yeah, this is going to show the story.
It's good because we're not in the race seat. You see, look at the wiggle, tank slap, bang, nowhere to go. And that's it. I was talking about how narrow this racetrack gets. As soon as the car is dead sideways, it really, there's nowhere to go. And unfortunately, Josh just had absolutely nowhere to go and got caught up in someone else's incident. And that happens so easily around here.
No, I'm not going to say it's going to happen tomorrow, but you get shades of it, don't you? Because when something happens on top of the mountain, you just file in there. There's not much you can really do. Something we haven't talked about, and I wonder whether or not you're going to walk away and put this on your graphics for tomorrow in the G Hub. But this is the first and possibly the only where we'll have the new damage model on the ZB and the Mustang.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't consider that until just now.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, there's so much speculation. We're assuming that the new Gen 3 car will be out for next year for our series. It's always one of those hashtag soons, but we know it did, unfortunately, it did just miss the cut for the late season release. So from what we're hearing, it should be brought out for the next one. And I mean, that'll be interesting, won't it? You know, for these teams and drivers, you know, learning a whole different new car, it's certainly going to make things very interesting.
More importantly, are you a Toyota super fan?
How's that for an announcement? I don't know. I didn't wake up screaming, oh, what a feeling, but I guess it's something different. The thing I was a bit surprised, though, is that Walkinshaw Andretti United was, you know, I guess the team to take part in that. I felt that they've, you know, it took them a little while to get round the Mustang, and I feel they're probably on top of it now, and I don't know, are they going to take a little step backwards trying to learn a new car, or are they going to, I guess, what Scotty went through, and you know, he jumped into that Volvo, and Gary Rogers Motorsport, they were absolute weapons with that Volvo. So are they going to have that sort of success, or are they going to struggle? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious that there was a lot of noise made about lack of financial support from Chevrolet and Ford. And I do wonder, Toyota's got this really good opportunity. They're one of the biggest car sellers in the country at the moment, so their ability to support it would certainly see a increased. If they can increase their market share, oh boy, it's worth it, right? So, yeah, look, from Walkinshaw and Andretti, I think they're potentially looking at those objects. Could you see if Mostert ends up racing a Toyota GT3, GT4 somewhere else around the world? That'd be a huge coup for him, and then it does make sense if they make those connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, certainly some interesting times ahead for supercars, but yeah, it wasn't an announcement I was ready for, to tell you.
I've just been handed probably the funnest fact of the night. The wet weather tyre has been used. There it is.
On the safety car. There you go. Well, lucky he was only out for a lap or so, because I don't think they'd last that much longer. But anyway, there you go. So safety car's in. We're about to go green racing. That wasn't a fact that I was waiting for, I tell you.
No, I was not expecting the wet tyre to be in use here tonight. Out of the chase, and immediately onto the power for Zach Rattray White's going to try and surge ahead at the front end of the field. Ben Pedersen's going to try and go with him. Byron Phillips and Christopher Ireland and Dylan Shepherd will get top 5 breakaway. How about this drive, though, from Tyson Broad? Because he's managed to cut his way through the field from where he started. It was a lot deeper, and yeah, he's managed to make a whole bunch of overtakes to sit 6th on the road. Mazzomo's managed to pick off another spot as well. It's at 7 currently, after taking 2 positions starting from 9th. So a couple of drivers on the move. The field was frozen. We'll go back to green flag racing. There'll be 5 laps left in this one. But the other metric we're going to keep an eye on, we've only got about 6 minutes left in this race, so we may only get it further through laps.
Oh, that was close. Jackson Bear, I thought he was going to just stick it right up the inside and make contact there at the back of Harry, but thankfully they all got away with it. But again, that's what you want drivers to do. Just move around, make the driver think that you are going to actually stick it up the inside there and just hopefully will them into a little bit of a mistake.
Harang and certainly provide some sort of stiff resistance. He managed to do that thus far, but now he's still going to have a difficult opportunity to try and cut his way through. Not an opportunity he's been able to make any advantage of up and across the top of the mountain, though. Pedersen starts to close in on our race leader, Rattray White. He's going to have an opportunity to take a look in the rearview mirror. They get down here on a Conrod, and how narrow was the approach there from Pedersen? Carries reasonable speed out. That's the closest he's been off it onto Conrod too.
Yeah, he's looking racy. I was interested to see what sort of toe he can get here, because as we go on board with him, you can see right here, he's just starting to make inroads, and of course, Zach knows he's starting to move the car around just to try and break that draft a little bit. I don't know if he's close enough here to stick it up the inside, but he's definitely put the pressure on. He'll maybe cross it and make sure that he covers his racing line, but they're going to go side by side. A good run down that straightaway, just lost a little bit there, but really good to see that toe working.
Yeah, pulled alongside it. Pedersen probably carried the brake a little bit too deep. He tried to get up on the alongside of Zach Rattray White, create the opportunity, and unfortunately cost them a couple of turns in the background. They're going to try and go side by side into the final corner. Ireland runs it a little bit wide. Here comes an opportunity for Shepherd, covers it across to the middle of the road. Shepherd's going to try and get down the inside when they get down here to turn 1. He's got overlap, far enough alongside, but he's not quite able to carry it. Round the outside, Christopher Ireland hangs onto the spot. Great defence, great racing.
Yeah, he did it round the outside of the last turn and then got it gun again. So really good driving. Now he's looking in his mirror because he knows he's going to get pressure. Oh, he's not left a room there. He has. He's left the inside gap open. I didn't think he'd be able to do that. I thought he'd shut the door, but no way. Dylan Shepherd's now managed to get the job done up the inside.
Tyson Broad's going to sense an opportunity here because Ireland went the long way round at Griffin's Bend, found no grip. They're going to beat, they're going to bang doors. They're brave heading up into the cutting side by side. Here comes Ireland back down to the inside. Mazzomo senses an opportunity as well. Now he'll get to the inside. Doesn't quite get the drive off as they exit the cutting. And somebody tell these Porsche Cup guys, there's a reverse grid race on because they all want points from race number 1.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's lap 5 of 8, so they know that they're running out of time, but it does send the heart rate up a little bit when they know they can see some drivers that are squabbling in front of them, and you just want to get in there and start racing with them as well. They all managed to get through there, but, geez, it was a little bit heart and mouth on a couple of those manoeuvres.
I wonder whether or not there might have been a touch as well because Ireland's just said something to race control. They're going to have a look at it. And and might be a redress yet to come, but it's with the stewards at the moment. Pedersen closes in once more to race leader Rattray White. He'll be a little bit further back this time, and we might get 2 more racing laps, I get the feeling. So I don't think we'll get all 8 in, but it's looking like we'll get 7. Around goes Jackson Barry, who was cutting his way through the field. He'll be forced to sit there and wait.
That's a tricky spot there. Just needs to, like you said, clear the rest of the field, pull a gear and get going. Thankfully, he's got another race to try and redeem himself, but a little bit of heartbreak there for him.
Now, unfortunately, massive amounts of damage to the rear end of that car. Horton's managed to get his car back out on track, as well as Luke Swan. Greg Patrick's not quite there. This is the moment, so he gets up the inside. Is he going to touch? He might have got a touch.
I think he pinched himself in there too. I think he was trying his best not to make contact, and if there was that little bit, that's probably what sent him round, unfortunately.
So, tight as they come down through. Ben Pedersen's going to go ahead and set the fastest lap of the race. And now it's going to be up to Rattray White to respond. So it'll be 2 more laps left in the session. We do have just enough time for 1.5 laps, and this is going to be a wild ride down at the chase as well.
Cut through the grass, a little bit of contact there. Oh, got shades of Bathurst when it was Scott McLaughlin and Whincup and everyone that was involved there.
Oh, there's been an update as well. The incident that was called in wasn't actually Dylan Shepherd on Christopher Island. It was Byron Phillips on Christopher Island. And Phillips has been told he needs to redress that position. So he'll drop out of the fight for the top 3. And now they're going side by side. And here he is trying to let them through. And trying to redress across the top is not the easiest thing to do. He's managed to get that one done.
Yeah, that's one of the worst places to do a bit of a redress, especially when the field is so close together. Here we go. So this is the replay. Round the outside. Oh, just that little bit of door-to-door contact.
Unfortunately, Robin Mears as well. He's in that silent 2 spots, so he's had to redress 2 spots, not 1, which has promoted Dylan Shepherd onto the podium. So he'll take a freebie.
Yeah, thank you very much. He's loving that.
Time, Ben Pedersen did actually just tap the wall on the exit of the elbow and run down through Conrod Straight now. Does close up in a Rattray White, expecting to see a white flag this time by the start-finish line, which will give us 1 more lap left to run. And if he can curry the speed as he currently has as Pedersen, fastest lap last time by, closes in on Rattray White yet again. A bunch of time now made on Conrod. Out of the final corner. We'll keep our eyes up. Indeed, the white flag has been shown to the driver. So 1 more lap from the first of our 2 races of Porsche Cup action.
It's getting very juicy between these two. They've gapped the rest of the field here, so it's really going to be a 2-man race. Zach Rattray White, Ben Pedersen. Ben's right there. You can just see his hustle on the back. He knows that this is his last turn around the mountain for this one. Is he going to have enough? I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a dive here. Zach's going to be all over it. He knows not to leave that gap open for him. And it's his final climb up the mountain. Where's he going to get the job done? Pretty much single file across the top of the racetrack. He's going to have to wait till he goes down to the chase.
Have a look at the 5-car train that's in the background of that shot as well, because Shepherd was covering to the inside as they got down to Griffin's Bend. Christopher Island's going to try and have a crack around the outside of the cutting. That's brave. Don't often see that one. Shepherd's definitely a little bit of a cork in the bottle, and he's covering just about everywhere as well. Final lap of our first of the heat races. Top 16 will get inverted. Fever looks to be on pole as it currently stands. Who's got something on this final lap of the race? How close is Pedersen? How close are these 5?
Let's get close up the top of the mountain.
Oh, moment.
Oh,
huge moment.
Grass.
Shepherd's managed to gather it all back up. Down through the S's. Island's going to be right there. And there is going to be a 992 stapled to this rear bumper when they come off the elbow. Look at how close they are to the walls on either side. Might only be 8 laps, and here comes Phillips. He's going to fire it down the inside. Touches Christopher Island, and that is all the help that Dylan Shepherd needs. He's now cleared these guys. Phillips managed to get in a reasonable exit. Broad is going to try and have a crack and buy into this one. And here comes Simon Mazzomo as well. We are going to have a real duel as we get down through Conrod Straight. Phillips is going to go to the outside. Island's going to try and go side by side with him. They're going to bang wheel. They're going to bang Tom. Tyson Broad's getting involved in this one now as well. 3 into 1. Does it go as they get down to the chase? Final lap of race number 1. Phillips to the inside. Runs Island wide. Out Horton onto the grass. They're still swapping paint. Ireland's going to go around an exit stage right now as Tyson Broad going to try and have a go. Phillips covers to the inside. Third spot on this one. Phillips has been asked to drop back. They're going to back doors, big wheels, and it's all chaos. Mazzomo scoots through to take fourth.
Oh my God, how lucky are these guys don't have to pay the bills for these Porsche Cup. These guys have been door handle to door handle, banging each other. Unbelievable finish here, and this is only the 8-lapper.
How chaotic was that one? And it's going to end up, I think this is our 16th place fight at this point in time, and that one's going to be decided as one. Fever will nick 16th spot back. He actually lost that one on that lap. And now he will get pole position for the feature race as Mirko makes a mistake at the final corner. And Horton's going to go toe-to-toe. This one's still not decided, even though both these guys had dramas. How good is Porsche Cup racing?
Oh, he's holding on. It's going to be a wild ride. He's rejoined smartly. But, man, these boys did not give an inch, did they? Coming down to the checkered flag, they were door handle to door handle, banging and biffing into each other. So I said, thankfully, this series isn't real and they're not paying the bills. Because boy, oh boy, there'd be some money in a part with.
At this point in time, I think some of the cars have ended up with wing mirrors and bits and bobs from other cars rather than their own hanging off at this point in time. Was there just a swap meet occurring down Conrad on that last lap?
Oh, that was cool. That was cool to watch.
Well, Rattray White takes the win from race number 1. 7 laps, didn't get all of the 8 in due to time constraints on that one. Ben Pedersen from Dylan Shepherd. Mazzomo scoots through to 4th. I'm never hearing the end of that one. God, I wish you guys hadn't given him those spots. Tyson Broad from Ryan Jones, Marino Morella, Matt Stewart, Byron Phillips, and Dylan Gray round out your 10. Who's going to take pole position for the feature? Well, it won't be David Clark, Harry Lawrence, Corey Bennett. They're all going to start out of a couple rows further up. Christopher Island will be right towards the front after chaos in the final lap. Dean Jacobson and Chevin Fever going to be your front row. The guys that missed out on the invert, Dan Mirko from Joshua Horton, Luke Swan, Jackson Barry, all with issues throughout that race. And Greg Patrick will start rear of field from the feature race after the issues on lap number 1, unfortunately for Greg. That was not a happy looking Porsche.
These boys put on a show. Have we got enough in us for 18 laps now? Because that was only 8 laps, and the boys just did not give an inch. Have a look at this for a replay. Look at this. Just banging door handle to door handle. It's at the fastest part of the racetrack, and these guys don't care.
175 k's an hour as they were banging wheels. Then they get down through the chase, and there was just not quite enough space for Chris Island, who does, was that a 720, I think? And racing incident, the result of that one as well. So we're going to get a clear track for race number 2, which will be a lot better for us. But Sandman, you're back over in the G Hub, and mate, would you trade a supercar for a Porsche Cup car?
Jeez, I don't know. I'm not paying the bills for it, I'll tell you that. But the boys didn't give an inch. How good was the racing, though? You know, they know that there's putting on a show for everyone at the mountain. It's our lead up to the 1,000 for qualifying. Obviously, we've got that over and done. We've got the shootout coming up. But these boys have just had their warm up. They've still got an 18 lapper in front of them. So we saw some really good racing, some heart and mouth stuff. But yeah, there wasn't an inch given there, was there? It was really good.
Got an update as well from Summons Mazzomo's team boss, Sean McNamara, by the way. Epic last lap, mega coverage and commentary. Can you go out there, Sean, and just make sure you pop Mez's balloon? We don't want that head.
Hey, leave him alone. He's doing a good job, but he's got his work cut for him now, because with that reverse top 16, he's a little bit further down the pack now. So he's got his work cut out for him, and be careful. He might be having you eating your words by the end of this.
Would leave him back there. I don't like seeing him.
He'll go forward. He'll go forward just to irritate.
You know, that's the editor on my podcast. So he did actually slide a little snide remark in the last time that we did an episode. He's probably going to do that again. It's going to be there are going to be maybe some bleeps there. We'll see how that goes. Oh boy, right. For you, ladies and gents, you might have joined for V8 Supercar Racing. How was that one from race number 1? We do want to hear from all of you guys. Have you enjoyed the coverage? Because it's not just been the one addition to the support series for the Bathurst 1000 week. It's been 2. We did have the co-driver clash, which was, honestly, it's on brand. That Porsche Cup race sort of matched with the co-driver clash the other night. You think, Salmon?
Yeah, that was a brilliant race. The co-driver clash, we saw a little bit of everything. It was a highlight for Wednesday night too, to have Ryan Wood take out the win. And of course, what does that mean for him? It means he's got his backside trackside for 2025 for the Logitech G Supercars Pro Invitational. So takes the pressure off him for the rest of the season. And I think it was a nice little insight just for those co-drivers, just have something a little bit different for them to race for. Wednesday night gave them some good track time. It gave them some indication of how their car is probably matched against the rest of the field around them. And, the drivers that they raced with, they're going to race with them come Sunday as well. So although they've been racing with them throughout the True Force Enduro Cup, to know that you're up against them and you can sort of gauge yourself on how you think your Sunday is going to go for the 1,000. But it was a brilliant race, and really hats off to Ryan Wood for grabbing that golden ticket.
I think we're going to punch you a golden ticket so you're up here in the booth for 2025 as well, Sam. And so after coverage on Wednesday night and the Logitech G Hub.
Well, that's been a nice new addition. That's been good. And, mate, we'd love to hear everyone's thoughts too. We're going to strive to make that just a little bit better each and every week.
Tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to be watching this Bathurst 1000 tomorrow out on the social medias, in YouTube land, on Facebook, wherever you are watching us, if you have got about 5 words to give to Sandman for tomorrow's racing action, we want to hear them. We might get some fan comments maybe over in the G Hub tomorrow morning. For now, it's going to be Porsche Cup racing action. The feature, the invert. 16 cars have been inverted. One of them didn't get a good getaway right there on the start line. Here we go on the feed down to turn number 1. Ireland's going to get aggressive. Already feeds his way up 2 spots as he gets into turn 1. Second spot on the road. He's just got Shannon Fever to try and pick off, and he is going to try and set sail and win race number 2. Byron Phillips cutting his way back through. Already sits 8th on the road. Marina Morellis trying to hold off David Clark deeper in the field. Broad and Stewart are also having a stoush at the moment. In the meantime, Broad's crossed the road. Have a look at them blocking on the run down to Griffin's Bend. On lap number 1, Tyson Broad's going to try and go around the outside. Ireland up the inside, tries to take the race lead.
Yeah, it was a nice little dive, got position there, and that's what he wants to do. He just wants to try and gap and just make that little bit of a margin over the rest of the field. It's going to get a little bit dicey for some of these drivers, and that's the beauty of a reverse grid race. The top 16, like we said, have been reversed, so it's going to mix the order up a little bit, and it'll just give these guys just a few laps just to sort themselves out. They don't need to make anything silly, no silly moves or anything like that. Just get single file and slowly pick them off one at a time.
Oh, we've already had a major incident. Matt Stewart's gone around, and Greg Patrick 2 races in a row. And, well, Zach Rattray White's cut his way through that with no damage, so he's okay. But unfortunately for Greg Patrick, 2 races in a row. And when Full Send Motorsports attends the AOG Porsche Cup on behalf of the Gamesman Porsche Cup Challenge. And our coverage here tonight's not going well for Greg Patrick. Down the inside, trying to slice and dice and pick off some spots early at the elbow. That is a tough move to pull off. And the 69 machine of Byron Phillips might have just done that.
The interesting point you made about that, Zach Rattray White obviously involved in that as we go to the MotoGP replay. Comment on that. You can see just how tight and twisty. So he spun. There's other cars that have got involved as well. Like you said, the most important thing for him, drama, live action. You can see it straight into the chase. Unbelievable. The action's coming thick and fast for these guys. I was going to comment that Zach Rattray White would be hoping for a safety car because he just needs to get to the back of this field. He's got a straight race car.
Yeah, no, something's happened to Dylan Gray. Corey Bennett was the other driver, and Dean Jacobson was the driver that was very, very wide and out in the sand pit, trying to recover that one for the B Electrical Race on Oz entry. He's going to come his way back to the pit lane. Yeah, he is. He's got damage on the front end, and another car in the lane as well, the 37 machine.
Oh, it's happening again! There's more drama! Didn't quite catch who that was there. Brian Jones, Luke Swan. Oh, these guys. This is only lap 2, boys. It's 18 laps. I don't know if we're going to make it.
Support categories, I reckon, was it 2022? It was red flags just about the entirety of the weekend. I think we're going to see a little bit more of that. We might see the safety car attendance because that's quite difficult for some of those cars to track their way back around the mountain. Ireland has managed to get out to a race lead at the moment. Harry Lawrence is now the second place car. Phillips leads this little battle pack. Marina Morella's going to try and track him down. Broad is the next car that's in behind him as well. Shepard's still managing to do a nice job, cut his way back through to 6th spot on the road as it currently stands.
Wow, fresh air is gold around here, isn't it? Just, being able to stay away from those incidents as we watch the OGV replay. These guys, solid far side. Oh, look at the big tank slapper. Gets on the grass, drills him in the door. That's what we saw, those live pictures that when we were watching the replay earlier. But man, you just see that tank slapper got on the grass, and then basically they were both passengers from now on in.
It's all bouncing over the curves too that triggered all of that one. While tyres starting to come up to temperature. Back end of lap number 2. Have a look at this pack. Fever is at the head of it at the moment. David Clark is trying to run him down. He's got the centre punch in the rear end, so he's got a little bit of damage as it currently stands. Clark starting to close in the JWM entry. Zone will be the next car on track. He's now had a moment as well as Fever. He's going to bowl a wide when they get down here. Does he pull the car up? Just not quite, as he'll take to the grass to try and get out there. Pedersen's now crawling all over the rear wing as well. Barry's gone for a tumble through the grass as well. And expensive lawnmowers as the key is down the inside. Mazomo at the final corner trying to get down the inside. David Clark. JDB plays 956. Pedersen getting involved as well. Pedersen gives a big old bump as they try and go 3 wide on the run down to turn number 1. Mazomo's going to try and get back down the inside once again. Does manage to clear David Clark, who's gone the long way around at turn number 1. Pedersen trying to slot his way back in as well. Horton has picked up a little bit of a draft. Now this is just chaos as they cut their way through. The pack, Mazomo, Clark, Pedersen, Horton, Dylan Gray's at the tail.
The last time I saw racing like this was like we were watching the old V8 Utes or HQs when they don't mind getting into each other. We've been a rubbing racing throughout this pack. These guys don't mind getting into it, but it's really putting on a great show back here.
Yeah, the racing action is just intense. It's been, look, there's been some bumps, there's been some dramas, but it's been relatively clean as they try and feed in. Pedersen lost spots out of trying to go and get some more spots back off of David Clark as they run out there. Nearly catches the wall, does catch the fence to the left-hand side. Gray's going to try and slot up the inside of him, so he's managed to pick a spot off across the top of the mountain. The Pedersen, who was so quick in race number 1, nearly come away with a race win. Now he's sliding back through the field. It was an invert 16. Have the look from Dylan Gray's perspective. Does he catch the wall on the inside? Not quite. Gray tries to get to the rear bumper. Does give him a little bit of a touch-up. Get him to the wall.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, obviously you want to try and minimise that as much as you can. We've already seen a couple of onboard camera shots where the drivers and the tracking of the car is not quite straight. If you break a trailing arm or something in these things, it's race over. So, man, we've seen so much action. Lap number 3 of 18, and boy, oh boy, I'll tell you what, Ireland would be like, you know what, I just want to gap the rest of this field and not get involved in any of that rubbish that's happening behind.
Well, he's done that so far. He's out to a 1.5 second lead, but Lawrence is managing to stay relevant in that battle. Byron Phillips sits about 2 seconds back off of him. So top 3 relatively spread out. Then you've got this mess, and Pedersen's going to try and fire it back down the inside as they got to the chase. Again, trades paint. Him and Dylan Gray have swapped paint, I reckon, 4 times on this lap, and now it's going to provide Corey Bennett with an opportunity. Bennett backs out of that one. Pedersen tries to fire it back down the inside. He needs to try and set this one up, line it up. Gray finally gets a bad exit. Tyson Broad's going to come to pit lane. There is a pit stop required in this one, by the way, because the fuel won't get you there to the end of the race. Pedersen again back down to the inside. He's going to try and nick this one away. Does finally clear Dylan Gray, but he's going to give him a tow all the way around to Griffin's Bend. 2 drive-through penalties, Ryan Jones, Corey Bennett, and those are for incidents on lap 1.
Yeah, smart from these guys that, if they find themselves just in that little bit of traffic or they feel like they're going to get balked, the best thing to do is just get in there, make that fuel stop so they can make their run to the end. But, man, hasn't it been wild for these first couple of laps? We thought the 8-lapper was impressive, but these guys are just getting wilder as this race goes on.
Now it's going to feed back up into the cutting. And for Pedersen, he's lost so much time trying to cut his way through. And now he's got to try and see if he can track David Clark back down. Mazomo skipped through. He's got the 6th spot. He got a little bit clear. Horton's gone with him, though. They will try and track down Dylan Shepherd. That might just be the end of their race in terms of how far they can get back towards anyone. Marino Morella has done a reasonable job as he's started to track down Byron Phillips. And Ryan Jones coming to pit lane. He's
made a mischief there. Fired off. He's missed the pit lane entry and made contact with the tyre barrier there.
Yeah, and for Ryan Jones, I've commentated alongside of him in the past. That's the thing about commentators. We don't tend to let you get away with very much. When we get an opportunity to harass you, you can certainly imagine that it's going to happen. In the meantime, we'll keep an eye on this little battle pack, which is going to be Horton and Mazomo. Sorry, my apologies. It'll be a little bit further back than that. It's going to be Zach Rattray White trying to get to the inside of Dylan Gray.
Man, got right to the bumper there. Thankfully, they both got away with it. But we've seen Zach Rattray White has had his fair share of dramas for this race, and he's just slowly starting to pick them off. But fastest lap there, Byron Phillips now with 2:07.578. But these two here not giving each other much room. Thankfully, they all smarten themselves out. But a couple of more pit stops happening behind them, and I think that's probably ideal for some of these drivers if they find themselves just buddy in a little bit of traffic and probably a position where they don't think they can get the job done. It's nice just to have a little bit of that clear air.
Yeah, see what you can do with that clear air, perhaps walk a little bit further forwards. Right, battle pack for second on the road has started to close back, and Phillips has managed to use that fastest lap of the race to run down Harry Lawrence, and he's towed Marino Morella along with him. So Morella's starting to show good pace. Didn't set the fastest lap, like you said, on went Byron Phillips, but only by a tenth of a second. Yeah, and they are using every scary road up across the top.
Yeah, I think Phillips just made a little bit of contact just up through there. We're going to see that probably 1,000 times throughout this weekend. And yeah, everyone's, takes it right to the limit, but sometimes you just go that little bit further. Thankfully, he's got no damage to the car, but it's just the lightest of touches. But and look at him now, just pressuring all over the back here. Does he think about making a move here? Oh, into the elbow. No, thinks better of it. And it's probably smart driving where he just needs to get a good run out of here, get that toe, and hopefully have enough for a move up the inside. Oh, drama at the top here. David Clark, he's pointing the wrong way. He's got a little bit of a margin before the next car comes round, so hopefully he can get that spun around and get going again.
We've all had issues trying to pull that one out of that specific spot. And Phillips gets down the inside, does bounce all over the curb. Saw that earlier in the race. He's managed to arrest that car, though, and come away with that one around the outside. Now Harry Lawrence is going to get harassed by Marino Morello, who forces him offline. Morella really struggles to get the car lined back up. Slid the tyres at the rear. Phillips dives to the pit lane, gets clear of those guys, doesn't want to offer them a little bit of toe. Felt he was starting to get a little bit held up. Might go and try and use the undercut to his advantage. In the meantime, Lawrence fights it back. Steals the spot once more from Marino Morella.
Yeah, smart. I love how he said, you know what, I'm going to dial off and get this pit stop over and done with. And that's given him just that little bit of space now. So, and it's always tricky, isn't it? You find yourself in a bit of a battle and you're enjoying the thing, but you don't want to lose time. So if you can find an opportunity where you can dive off into the lane before anyone else, that gives you just that little bit of a breather for a lap or two.
And there will be fuel stops to come as well. Safety car might have made things really touch and go. The ability to add that pit stop, but given the fact that that one did not come from lap number one and the field started to spread themselves out just a little bit, I get the feeling that there is going to be a pit stop for Ben Pedersen. By the way, only 2 seconds ahead of Zach Rattray White, so shoes on the other foot now with Rattray White going to try and chase him down, nearly up and into the barriers once again. Harry Lawrence sits second on the road, 4 seconds now the margin for Christopher Island. Driving, like you said, clean air, got the racetrack all to himself this time, and he's made absolute meal of it out there.
Yeah, if I was him, if I found myself in that position, I'd just stay out till the last possible minute to get that pit stop done, because the last thing he wants to do is fire off into pit lane and come out possibly in traffic. So with that little margin that he's got up his sleeve, there's no pressure from behind. He can just absolutely run away with it and leave it to the last possible moment.
In the meantime, Harry Lawrence is going to get tested once again because Marino Morella will be this time trying to have a go at him when they get down here to the chase. You might see Morella feed off if he can't quite get the job done with this overtake. He's going to pull up alongside, a little bit of side draft, gets the nose ahead, so he's well and truly ahead. He's nearly cleared him by the time they get to the King. With a lift, slots it down in front, and Harry Lawrence doesn't fight that one too hard. Marino Morella, second place on the road.
Oh, it's not giving up back here, Dylan Shepherd. Nope, that's the 45, of Josh Horton.
That'll be sliding through on Simon Mazzomo for 5th spot on the road, albeit will be strategy corrected later on. Pit stop to come for both of these drivers. Chris Island's actually going to pit from the race lead, so that changes things. And
he doesn't listen to me.
Marino Morella takes that one over. No, I think I was listening to your advice and going, yep, that sounds like really, really good advice. Zach Rattray White says sometimes speed is the best answer for everything, as he sets fastest lap of the race as well.
Or maybe he's done the math, or he's got someone that's looking behind the scenes just to see where he's going to come out. So hopefully he just doesn't come out and there's someone balking him. But ideally, that's what he'd be thinking. But to peel off into the pit lane and have himself sort of almost a 5-second margin, that's pretty handy to have in your back pocket regardless, you know, even if things start to go a little bit pear-shaped for him. But hopefully he's got some clear air.
Ben Pedersen has just sent the move of the race as he went very late on the brakes into the cutting, and now he's going to be forced to go the long way around. They're going to get the tree. No way, they went too wide through up and through the tree.
Still.
Lap number 7, still too wide. Mazomo's going to be forced to go the long way round at the crate. They're giving each other a whole bunch of room. And Simon Mazomo eventually has the rear tyres complain too much. That allows Rattray White to slide on through. That might be Mazomo diving to the pit lane for maybe a fast repair at the tail end of this lap.
Yeah, he hit it nice and flush. Thankfully, he doesn't look like he's got too much damage, but that's always heart and mouth moment. It's a big move when you're trying to go around the outside there. Unfortunately, like you said, the tyres just protested a little bit and made heavy contact with the wall, but thankfully, he's still got a straight race car.
But now he's going to get a little bit of a tow from Rattray White, see if that one can still continue to work in his favour. Christopher Island did come out with a fair bit of track advantage as well and clear track. He's now about 2.5 seconds ahead of Byron Phillips for the race lead, which means Phillips has actually managed to close that margin down just a little bit. He's got a little bit of pace on board as well, so we'll have to keep half an eye on that one. Both of our leaders continuing on through this time, not electing to come through the pit lane, and Dylan Shepherd's starting to close in on this, guys. I thought he might have dived to the lane, particularly with the speed that he's got on board at the moment. What are the lap times for this little group? 2:08.833, 2:07.584, 1.2 seconds a lap faster. Dylan Shepherd at the moment than Harry Lodged ahead of him, and was the fastest of our lead 4 drivers as well.
Josh Whitman's in the lane too, so yeah, all the back here. Oh, it's always heart and mouth stuff when they come into the chase. Oh, did they go deep? No, they've all managed to get away with it. A nice move up the inside there. I do love it when people have a crack, but it's not over yet. Oh, don't tell me they're going to try 3 wide. No, thankfully they didn't. Oh, Dave Clark, he's going to still on the outside here. Dylan Gray makes a move up the inside. But good heads-up racing by those 3.
Yeah, damage for David Clark, unfortunately. Remember, he was the car that was backwards at the tip-up. Unfortunately, has not managed to recover that one. 2 cars ahead of him, Jackson Berry and Dylan Gray, have already made their pit stops. This is the battle on the road for 4th spot at the moment between the 2 drivers who fought it out for race victory in race number 1. A little bit further back. This is going to complicate things in terms of the point score across both the races as well. This is going to be quite tight, I think.
I was sitting there just soaking it up and enjoying it, just watching it. Just hitting their marks. It's such a good feeling when you're coming down the mountain as quick as you can. You hit your marks perfectly. The car just sort of dips down through the dipper and you can work your way through the S's. It's almost poetry in motion, isn't it?
It certainly is, and it's made a little bit worse by the fact that no weight over the front end of that Porsche Cup car as well. So understeer a problem, and then when the wheel does grip up, it tends to swing around in a pendulum fashion as they talk about it. Rattray White now starting to close in on Pedersen, not quite able to get to the inside of him as they get to the braking zone now. There was an incident in the dipper on the current lap. Now Dylan Shepherd's going to feed in out of 3rd spot on the road, and I can tell you Pedersen's just fed off into the lane as well. So pit stops starting to come our way from the top 5.
Now getting to a point in the race where they don't want to probably leave it too much longer. If we get a safety car or something that could, bunch this field up, if you miss the pit lane entry, that could really sour your race. So I know a couple of these teams would need to be very mindful of that as this race goes on. Lap 9 of 18, and still a number of cars that need to make their way down pit lane.
Just looking at those pit stop times as well, just had a half a question mark about whether or not there might have been question mark if some drivers could have made the end of the race.
Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, I thought he was going to get away with it. That was huge.
Tyson Broad regularly reminds me of a mistake I made about 2.5 years ago, so I'm glad there is footage of that that's been posted.
He did a great job actually not to fence it harder than I thought, you know, he obviously made a little bit of contact, but I thought it was going to turn a lot uglier than it did. So, yeah, you can probably give him a little jab for it, but I think he didn't do too bad. He got away with it.
He likes to point out I wrecked an IndyCar at a safety car. So,
did you?
Yeah. Less that's said about it.
Really? Oh, Jay might need to find some video of that.
Oh, he's got footage of that. If you ask Tyson Broad, he can actually link it for you.
That's the joy between drivers and commentators, isn't it? Any chance we get to rib each other, it's full steam ahead.
I'm very, very good in an IndyCar when there's nobody watching. The instant somebody puts a camera on me, it all goes to pieces. So. In the meantime, a few of the drivers who it has gone to custard for, Jackson Barry and Dylan Gray. Clark's managed to stay with them, though, even with that damaged race car. Pit stop will be coming in for him, though. So I definitely thought Barry might have cleared out. How about this little stoush that's going to continue on? This will be interesting to keep an eye on.
So we've got enough speed here. No, he's not close enough here.
Oh, he's trying to go to the left-hand side.
No chance. Now he's going to go to the inside. That was a beautiful move. So Fever's just going to have to open up the wheel there and just give him some space. But that was a brilliant move from Josh Horton. Faked him and then got the job done around the outside, which then turned to the inside. That was a great move.
Yeah, and Pedersen was the car just ahead of this one. Josh Horton and Pedersen have both done their pit stops for Fever. He actually hasn't. How about this little battle now as Simon Mazzomo is going to line up and have a crack at Fever now. It'll be his turn to slide it down the inside. Gets there, leaves him enough space just on the exit. Nearly got ruffled up just a little bit for Simon Mazzomo. They're going to be neck and neck as they start to climb up Mountain Straight. It's going to be near the outside now for Simon Mazzomo when they get to Griffin's Bend. He's going to touch him up as well. Fever started to come across. He's trying to hold him narrow on the run down here into Griffin's. Tight, not quite clear. A long way round. Bravery from Mazzomo. He can have that moment.
I thought he was going to get tagged in that left rear for sure, but they managed to get away with it. These boys don't mind gore on each other, do they?
This is a bit late next. Harry Lawrence. It's the 43 machine of Dylan Shepherd. So these two rejoin side by side as they run up Mountain Straight. This would be for position after the pit stops too.
He's just coming into the pit, so he's got low tyres. Oh, a little bit of a cross. Dive up the inside. Nate thinks better of it. Have they both gone in too hot? No, they've got through with it. I thought they were going to run a little bit too hot.
Well, that was phenomenal driving from all of those drivers. This battle's still going on for Gray, Curry, and Clark. David Clark is surely due into the pits any time now to drop off the tail end of this. Marino Morella's actually continued on as well. So for the drivers with the dash, there's still a pit stop to come for those drivers. Remember the number next to them, that was when they completed their pit stop. About 2/3 of the field have already completed their not compulsory stop, but strongly advised pit stop. They don't run out of fuel.
I love that, strongly advised. Well, if you want to finish the race, anyway.
Dylan Gray finally manages to catch his way through and pass Curry on the way down through. Chase gets that one away. And we'll see if he can start to set sail ahead of this group. I'm a little bit worried because I can see Tyson Broad has been sitting in pit lane for a very, very long time. So I have a feeling you guys are about to get a few messages with that clip in your inbox. Never. He is never. Every single time he's around, I get that clip linked to me about every once or twice a week. Never fails. He's just, Scott, I'd like to write him that. He's
just a caring young man, that's
You
all.
do one thing wrong. One time, Sam. One time.
Remember back in the day when you do racing games and stuff like that, and it was never broadcast, and you didn't have to worry about people having copies of it? Well, now it gets spread all over the internet, and everyone gets to enjoy it worldwide.
There's a sound clip going around of me making vocal noises from this year's coverage. How's Harry Lawrence?
Yep. contact. That could have been a lot uglier. Managed to get away with it. But it's almost a chain reaction. When you start to be offline in that part of the racetrack, you're just chasing your tail as you start to work your way down the mountain. So thankfully, you still managed to be pointing in the right direction with a reasonably straight race car. Here we go, on board. Watch the wheel work here on board the OG Gear replay. A bit of understeer, then oversteer, a little bit of wiggle there, bang into the wall. Holy dooly.
That could have gone a lot worse.
Oh, no.
A lot worse, and it has gone a lot worse because Dylan Gray has made contact with Curry. I think it might have been Curry that might have... Sorry, Barry. I've been calling him Curry the entire night. Jackson Barry, unfortunately, has made contact with something.
Yeah, I think he had a little bit of help there. Fair bit of damage up the left side of that Porsche. So I imagine probably 2 into 1. I'm only guessing. We'll have to guess no more. We'll check out the OG Gear replay. Oh, this is... big slide at the top of the mountain for the 553. Shannon Fever.
And then these guys are going to arrive on scene with that car parked there. They've all managed to get through and avoid it.
Oh, he's made contact there. And that's what I mean. You just talk about there's just no room. Oh, and then they find up here. Oh, 3 cars involved in that one. So we only caught the end of it with our live vision there, but man, oh man. These boys don't give an inch, do they?
By no stretch of the imagination. Park's going to make his way to the pit lane and back out again, and unfortunately, race control are going to have something to review there. Right on board at the moment with Pedersen, as he's managed to catch up to Harry Lawrence after that scary ride for Lawrence 1 lap ago. And he's wide again.
Oh, yeah, Ben's looking good here. Is he going to think about a move? The inside of the elbow. No, he thinks better of it. I think he's smart here. He just try and tack on. Oh, he didn't quite get the cleanness to run down to there. But now he was just trying to optimise and get most of this draft as he can and hopefully get the job done into the chase.
Yeah, well, critical factor for Ben Pedersen is he has already pit. The other side of that is that Zach Rattray White's continued on about 13 to 13.5, might get the 14th lap if he does some saving. Across the duration, Ben Pedersen slices it through the kink, gets on the anchors, car completely ahead when they get down to the chase, and Lawrence nearly gave him a hurry up as they got to the apex there as well.
Yeah, well, you got to give him to earn it, don't you? So got the job done now, and now he wants to do is just a little bit of eyes forward now, and hopefully try and close up to the margin to the guys up front.
Marino Morella has made his way into the lane and back out of the lane again. Where is he going to feed out relative to these guys? Ahead of them comfortably. So he will slot back into effective 3rd on the racetrack with a pit stop to come from Zach Rattray White. Update on the incident from lap number 11, which you're just looking at with all 3 cars involved. Jackson Barry has received a drive-through penalty for that one. He'll be transiting the lane in the very near future.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of everything, haven't it? These Porsche guys have not disappointed one bit. We've seen some great racing. We've seen some good side-by-side hard racing and some incidents just to keep it all interesting all along the way. But, yeah, really good. Porsche Cup at the Mountain. I think OG Gear and the Gamesman have been getting a pretty good run of mentions in this one. It's been a beauty.
Indeed they have, and another shout out as well to the guys that come on board to sponsor this event. This has been the Gamesman Porsche Cup Challenge, proudly brought to you by AOG, which is where all the drivers have come from. Well, the challenge race here tonight, in partnership with the Logitech Pro Invitational. It's been awesome to have a lovely bit of additional racing action. As we're getting word, Byron Phillips might be starting to run down our race leader.
He's just slowly starting to close that margin, isn't he? I'm wondering how much longer we're going to have to wait. Zach still hasn't made his pit stop. So, yes, he's the leader on track at the moment, but he's still going to make a tour down pit lane. So, yeah, effectively, this is where the race is at. And, yeah, that margin is just slowly starting to close up.
Zach Rattray White's just gone out and punched out the fastest lap of the race. There was some fuel saving going on for him earlier in the race because he's managed to make it 13 complete circuits and starts his 14th. So he saved that extra half lap of gas to get a little bit further on. So he's going to continue trying to have a crack at putting some margin over these guys. In the meantime, Ireland has been run down fractionally by Byron Phillips. 2/10 of a second out of him on the last lap. There's 5 laps left to run. He'll get close. If he gets a little bit of drafting assistance, though, the margin could come down. A mistake from Ireland will close that battle, though, down for the lead.
Can you imagine what this would be looking like if Zach Rattray-White hadn't been involved in that incident on the first lap? Because he was pointing the wrong direction. So he lost a lot of track time, obviously. And, man, if you think if he had just that little bit of track time up his sleeve, he'd be a real force come to the end of this race.
Don't forget, for all the fans that are watching along at home, this is not the end of the coverage. There's more chaos on the dipper on this lap as well. I've just seen Byron Phillips just have a huge moment. I think that was caught on screen as well as he went up across the top of the mountain. So, issue for Mirko, unfortunately. Dan Mirko's. Oh, there we go. There's a wild ride.
Yeah, that's heart and mouth. Thankfully, he had the steering wheel straight. So if you do tend to get a little bit wide, the last thing, there's a car facing the wrong way up against the wall there, just on the exit of the dipper. That might have been what you were just touching on, but the 37 of Dan Micro, it's just, thankfully he's got away with it. But I lost my train of thought now. That took me by surprise when we were on board there. But here we go, Zach Rattray-White, he's fine in the pit lane.
One of the benefits of this, he's going to add a little bit less fuel as well. Just hearing word as well, Barry has now served his pit lane drive-through penalty. Josh Horton's starting to close in. I believe that's on Harry Lawrence in the 22 machine, so these two will go toe-to-toe in the final couple laps of the race. Byron Phillips was the driver that had that wild ride up and across the top of the mountain, so he's not managed to take any margin out of Chris Ireland on that most recent lap. Oh no, he still managed to take 0.2 of a second, so he is coming at him. Marino Morello is going to get back around and take the third spot. Rattray-White is going to join right in behind Dylan Shepherd, but critically ahead of Ben Pedersen.
Replay. Man, it's fast up across the top of the mountain. Got away with it. But geez, you hold your breath. As soon as you see cars just have that little wiggle or get close to the grass, you think, oh my goodness, how is this going to go? Is it going to go pear-shaped or are they going to be able to hold on to it? But thankfully, that time round, they were able to hold on to it.
Horton's now going to have a battle on his hands. It's going to be that of Harry Lawrence. This is going to be one that's worth watching. And like we're saying, ladies and gentlemen, not the conclusion of tonight's action. Sub 15 shootout for the Logitech Pro Invitational for 2024 is going to be decided just after this one. They'll feed off in inverse order of where they qualified. 15th all the way back to first. And it's going to be a hectic shootout. Last year, 14 drivers said they were very unhappy with their lap times and left time on the table. What's it going to look like for 2024? And with 3.5 laps left to run from the Gamesman Porsche Cup Challenge. Few battles out on track as Horton starts to close. He was nearly putting another Porsche badge on the rear end of Harry Lawrence. And Shepherd as well is going to have Rattray-White right next to him on the road. Battle for 4th position. Here it comes.
Whoa.
And Harry Lawrence is going to cover the inside, the long way round for Josh Horton. Has he managed to pull that car up? Yes, he has. They will go side by side through the kink. The car on the inside of the kink has been the driver with a lot of problems with traction out of there. Through the Armour All Bridge, side by side to Murray's.
Oh, how good is this? Lawrence still trying to hold on. Gets the job done. Good racing between these guys. Just gave each other enough racing room. And that was really good. It's always you hold your breath, especially coming into the chase when you're side by side through there, but they gave each other plenty of room and now they're trying to push on.
Josh Horton's starting to get a little bit disappointed. We've got another car just stopped on the track on the right-hand side as we get up here. Rattray White's got around Dylan Shepherd. He's got 3 laps left to run to see if he can go and chase these guys down. Jackson Barry's going to come through this shot. That's that car facing in the wrong direction right there. But off the racing line, so he's okay. This is how it got done for Rattray White.
Replay. Firing up the inside here. Nice move under brakes. Nice and clean. Gets the job done. It's almost textbook in that corner, isn't it? Just that last little dive. You carry that little bit of speed. Pull the car up nice and straight, and now he goes.
For OG Gear, we've got the opportunity to sample their products. Costa was down in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. Gladly reached out and sent a couple of gloves on their way to me, albeit I can't use them at the moment. Premium Sim Racing wear. If you're looking for that little bit of a high-class feel in your sim racing gloves, still getting...
that's the big slide. Oh, he's made heavy contact. Especially when you get this close to the end too and your night's just gone like that. It's like, man, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's just had enough, I think, for Jackson Barry. It's not been a great night. And you add that one in for good measure. Meantime, I think Ireland's got this one comfortably. There was a challenge that was starting to be marathoned by Byron Phillips, but in this lap alone, he's lost a few more tenths of a second. He's not going to be able to get back there. Horton's going to once again have another crack at Harry Lawrence as they go down through the kink. Does get the job done.
Oh, he's going to try around the outside? No, he hasn't enough there. How good's the racing between these two? That's really good. Good hard racing, lots of respect between these two, giving each other racing room. He's going to think about last dinner. Yes, he is. Oh, no, he didn't do it. I dead set thought he was going to throw it back up the inside again.
And there's more going to come out of this one as well, because, a mistake out of the final corner for Josh Horton means that Harry Lawrence, with 2 laps left to run, will fire it back up the inside. And Simon Mazzomo is just sitting in the background of this one going, come on, boys, race that one a little bit harder, why don't you, please?
Oh, and they are too. Have a look at it now. Horton's going to try around the outside of Lawrence. It's a good move. He hasn't cleared him enough, so it's the last of the late breakers. Don't want to get caught up on marbles there. Lawrence will hold on.
I'll tell you what, Mazzomo, whilst they're doing that, it's just taken 0.3 of a second out of the pair of them. And they're going to have another crack at each other when we get here. Luke Swan and David Clark as we run down to the kink.
Oh, geez, it gets close through there.
You look at it on the surface and you go, oh, there's a heap of space on the road there, but as soon as you touch that curb, it's, you need all of it. Tell you what, Mazzomo's still coming. He's taken a second out of these guys on this lap. So they're more stoushing, and they will get there. I do want to say a big shout out as well. We've already said it a couple of times, but to the Gamesmen for coming on board of this one. And if you're thinking about picking up any of the new RS range of the Logitech gear, just announced Wednesday night overnight. I believe it was Tuesday in Europe. Might have even been Wednesday morning actually over in Europe. So they announced all of the new gear that was coming out. Was under wraps, and we've seen all the ads thus far throughout the coverage, including new swappable wheels to go on the Logitech wheelbases, as Lawrence is going to have a crack once more around the outside. Horton's got back to the inside. They will go side by side, and again Mazzomo is going to be eating this one up because he's making time. They're still side by side. How premium is this from this pair? Still giving each other space. Horton back down to the inside. Lawrence, is he going to let him clear? He finally does. Now he'll look for a little bit of a crisscross.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite get there. White flag in the air. One more lap around Bathurst with the Porsche 992 support category. Lawrence enjoying the nose, trying to get back down the inside. Mazzomo closes another couple of tenths as he gets to the final, the first corner, Hell Corner, where all the action will kick off tomorrow morning, 10:45 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And that's about 14 hours away for those of you watching along at home as we go live on the run-up to Griffin's Bend. Lawrence has got to fight this one back. He's still in with a shot, and he's going to have the toe on the final lap of the race to boot.
Driver just in front of him. That was Pedersen, yeah.
That's destroyed. That car is destroyed.
Yeah, that's crabbing. He just has to move out of the way now. So it's a position game for these guys, but hard break on the last lap for Pedersen.
And Rattray White's going to run out of time, by the way, to get back to Marino Morella. So it's just going to be this battle that we're going to keep an eye on in the dying stages of the race. Horton now leads the battle pack. And the run out onto Conrad for the final time tonight. He had a drama-filled race number 1 for Chris Island that went all the way to the end of the final lap of the race. Bounces off the wall, does Harry Lawrence. Now can he survive? Because Mazzomo is going to use that to close up significantly. We'll get some draft assist as they get out the elbow. How's the car feeling on the final lap of the race when you bounce off the wall that hard out the other side of the dipper? And that's not the first time he's made that mistake from Lawrence as well. Run down to the final corner, under the Armour All Bridge, and Chris Island's going to celebrate race 2 feature win for himself as he fires it out of the final corner. Run to the line for the DPR Simrigs driver. Takes race 2 victory. Mazzomo's going to try and go around the outside. Touches the grass. Rolls the wide as he runs down into the chase. And that will end the race for 7th spot and 8th spot on the road. Well, he had to go there, Sandman, and you would have been disappointed with him if he didn't.
Absolutely. What an entertaining this race has been. The Gamesman Porsche Cup. This has been just an absolutely brilliant event to have 2 races here as we lead up to the top 15 shootout here for Bathurst. But, man, these guys put on a terrific show throughout both races. And, they didn't leave anything on the table, did they? They all had a red-hot go and pushed it right to the end.
I can tell you Byron Phillips is destroying a set of tyres down off the exit of Hell Corner. So they've all been thoroughly enjoying the racing action thus far. The 031 machine of David Clark is going to come down to finish the race as well. Some more drivers kicking their way on through. Brilliant racing. And we might just get a quick replay of what happened to Ben Pedersen for him to end up in that position. Because he was trying to track down 5th place on the road as well, so which would have been Shepherd. This will be what happened for him.
Again for the OG Gear replay.
Oh!
What happened?
Just
he hasn't misjudged it. There's a part of the racetrack obviously where there's an opening there. So has he just misjudged it, tried to open up his exit, and he's just caught the inside wall? That was really strange. I think I'm going to see if we can get an onboard, but it looked like he was trying to open up that corner, and unfortunately, he's made a massive error. Here we go. So he runs it out wide here. That's fine. And you can see the opening here. Bang! He just misjudges it. Drilled it. He's still got control of the car. Obviously, it's not in great condition. So it wasn't a hardware failure or anything. I mean, he may have just misjudged that, unfortunately.
Such is racing. Final results from the feature race here tonight. Chris Island got away nice and early after having mistakes in the heat race. Got to start further up grid. Byron Phillips, Bruno Morella, Zach Rattray White, Dylan Shepherd down through P number 5. Joshua Horton, Harry Lawrence, Simon Mazzomo, Corey Bennett and Luke Swan going to round out the top 10. Then we'll throw it back over for 11th through 20th. It's going to be David Clark and Greg Patrick. Dean Jacobson managed to get back to 13th, stayed on the lead lap. Ben Pedersen will fail to finish that final lap of the race. Shannon Fever will get home also on the lead lap just. Jackson Barry was the final of our finishers, 1 lap down. Unfortunately for him, we saw the moments that he had. Dan Mirko from Dylan Gray, Tyson Broad and Ryan Jones to round out U20, albeit a number of those drivers not finishing. And I believe there's from 21st, there was one more driver that was participating here tonight, but it was Matt Stewart was the other driver I was thinking of, and I want to say a shout out to Isaac Edwards for being the only driver brave enough throughout that entire session to put the wet tyre on in the safety car.
Absolutely.
Righto, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to step away for just a few moments. On the other side of this message is going to be 15 drivers. They'll have 1 lap to set their fastest lap of the session. There will be no redos. There will be no wipe it back and start again. It's your top 15 shootout to decide your top 15 for the Bathurst 1000 on the starting grid.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually in.
The Racing Series is a new milestone in Logitech G.
All the great old wheels, the G29, the G920, the G923, they all have their own unique way of connecting to each other, but there's no room for expansion with those products.
So the question arose was, what if we were to give the opportunity for the racer to switch out from a drifting wheel to a GT rim?
With the wheel hubs that we created, that's got a very specific button set, but you can replace any of the steering wheels.
And the real lovely aspect to this was we could give the user, driver and the racer the opportunity to experience different genres of race.
That allows drivers to craft high quality, customized setups that resonate with your individual racing style.
When we start with the design, we always start sketching. But very often once we've got sketches, we start discussing with engineering.
We had 3 rounds of engineering testing or user testing where we invited in users from sim racing, and every single round of feedback we refine, the product based on what they tell us.
In this sim racing lab, again, we're going to use data to really analyze what a driver needs. We've used everything from eye tracking to the inputs from the pedals, the inputs from the, let's say, input devices, the wheel and the pedals, the shifter. We're taking that and we're compiling it so that we can build different products based on those individuals' needs for all consumers and all drivers.
I don't know of anyone else in the industry that's actually doing this kind of research into their products to see how their products are affecting performance of their users.
We've built the product to make sure that it's as reliable as possible.
So the innovations in engineering that I'd say we're most proud of is the sequential handbrake and shifter toolless changeover. This is now a patented system, so it's really easy for the user to just switch between modes.
If you give people the tools to do what they want, they will.
They will just go off and have fun. Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, after all the action from the Gamesman Porsche Cup Challenge, on behalf of AOG, it's time to get back underway with our regularly scheduled programming. The Bathurst 1000. Qualifying tends to not mean much, but it's also the opportunity to get out there for a one-lap shootout. The only time we'll do this for 2024, which makes it all that much more special. The top 15 are going to be released in anger for that one and only lap. And Sandman, one lap raises the stakes. The amount of mistakes you don't see in a qualifying session, but you see it in the shootout.
Absolutely. It's the one bit of track time that everyone wants and craves, I guess, in the real world and in the sim racing world, is that one lap around Mount Panorama Bathurst, the track entirely to yourself, for your chance to grab pole position in arguably it's the biggest race that we have on our calendar. You know, so much history, so much drama. It ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? And like you said, we can see absolutely anything happen tonight. And just because you were the fastest in qualifying, doesn't mean anything. You know, there's a chance that you probably will do really well. You may even grab pole, but there's no certainty. The pole position winner at the end of this one could come from 15th. You just don't know. And that's the beauty of the top 15 shootout.
Well, I can actually give you a stat from last year's race. Pole position went to James Scott, went on alongside of Shane Van Gisbergen to claim race victory in what was one of the races of the year for 2023. Richard Hampstead is going to get his opportunity as he rolls off of pit lane, and it'll be a nice cruisy out lap. Roll the camera and roll the clocks all the way back to, what was it, 2006, 2007, when Jamie Whincup took to his first ever top 10 shootout behind the wheel of what at the time was a Ford Falcon. And he was handed the car, he was handed the reins for it, had a lot of confidence in himself as a driver. And they were on track for a whole host of history. But he stuffed it qualifying. He didn't get enough temperature, didn't get enough pressure into the tyres, and this preparation lap, it's important because you've got to look after the tyres. You're out there on your own. And the difference to qualifying is, well, there's a horde of cars out there with you in qualifying. It's the only time the mountain goes silent.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? Unfortunately, I've never been quick enough to have this moment to myself and to be part of this, but yeah, it's pretty special, and I reckon the nerves climb a little bit too, regardless. But I guess it's maybe easier for the people that, you know, like you said with Hampstead, he came in at 15, so he's got nothing to lose. You know, regardless of what happens tonight, he's still going to start, worst case scenario, 15. So for him, you know, it's all about he can just go better from here. So I think that takes a little bit of pressure off for him. But the other drivers, they know that you know, it can easily go very much pear-shaped for them before they know it.
So Hampstead's going to have a few moments of chill out. He's done this all before. This isn't the first time that Richard Hampstead's been into a shootout. So he's got experience on his side. In fact, the bulk of the field that have actually made their way in here, this won't be their first ever shootout. So they will all have a load of experience to go on. When we spoke to Brent Thompson the other night, he said, look, it's still, you can have experience in these things, but the nerves still come up. It's just one of those supreme moments on the car. Right, preparation has now been done. He's on the run down to the final corner. What's it going to be from Richard Hampstead as he sets the rear end of the car alight? I'll tell you what, maybe he has left that a fraction late there, Sandman, because that wasn't the greatest launch off the final corner.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, he's just sacrificed just a little bit of time on exit there too. So that bit will hurt him more because he's carrying his speed all the way up the straight. So that, you said he didn't get a great exit out of the last turn. It was only a short straight, but he's going to carry this speed just that little bit longer here. So he'll be kicking himself a little bit for about that, but he can still get away with it as this lap goes on.
Well, I think he was wide there as he got to Griffin's Bend, so he is throwing everything at it, Richard Hampstead, but it might be just everything at it and a little bit too much. I can tell you they were tinkering with setups with TTR. They found something. They found a way to make this car supremely quick in a straight line, but they had to throw the work out. It did not turn across the top of the mountain. He said by the time they made enough time down the straightaways, they lost it all up and across the top. So they had absolutely had a crack at coming up with something special for the mountain for 2024. They were forced to go back to the drawing boards once again. From Hampstead, the sector times 46.765 in sector number 1. Sector 2 line is now coming upon us very, very quickly. What's it going to be? 29.300. So a reasonable sector across to the top of the line. Now he's going to point and shoot his car off of the elbow. The elbow looked very, very good. Good drive off there, Sam.
Yeah, so far, like you said, good drive off there. Now it's foot flat to the floor. He's just pulling gears. He's watching the RPM now. He's just trying to see what he can do. It's obviously going to be flat through here, but it's all about getting as late and as dare on the brakes just to try and get it turned in for this left-hander.
Yeah, now he'll pull it up now at the chase. He'll try and square the car off, drive it back underneath the Armour All Bridge. The run down to Murray's Corner where the lap all began 2 minutes ago. He'll tip it in from Richard Hampstead, and I guarantee we'll get him in here in a few moments, have a quick chat, and also that first half of the lap, the car just did not turn in. It didn't pull the car up nice and accurately enough. It's going to be a 2:03.667. It's not a horrible lap, given what they were able to put together. But, I get the feeling there's probably another 3 or 4 tenths left to go.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what he lost going up Mountain Straight there too. Just the fact that we saw how he got off on that curve and the car got away from him a little bit. So yeah, that wasn't obviously ideal, but nevertheless, like I said, worst case scenario, he's still going to start 15th.
Brady Myers now the second of the drivers is going to jump in and have a crack at the lap time, and a lot deeper in. Last year qualified second in terms of regular qualifying, and the shootout went about just as well. He was the second last driver to roll out in 2023. He's the second driver to roll out here today. And in terms of what the session looks like for him at the moment, 23 degrees Celsius in terms of track temperature, was above the 30s for our qualifying session. We'll have an opportunity to a quick chat to Richard Hampstead and Hammer, mates. I don't know how accurate that lap felt on board, but it did not look clean when you got down to turn 1 and turn 2.
Yeah, no, pretty average lap, unfortunately. Grip was just down compared to what I expected it to be, so turn 1 it just got sideways on the exit. Turn 2 I went in pretty deep, and just didn't get pulled up, so the rest of the lap wasn't too bad. It still wasn't great, but yeah, I doubt I'll make any positions unless anyone has a real big error.
Mate, you come into the shootout with a lot of opportunity to sort of improve, and at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't stick a lap together, there's a mistake somewhere, well, you are still going to improve, so there's at least that in the back.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's the benefit of being 15th. You got nothing to lose, so yeah, just got to hope to make a few spots up from here.
Mate, give me a couple of short words to describe the race tomorrow. Coach, a very, very short sentence. You might end up on Sandman's G-Hub tomorrow morning. What are your thoughts heading into tomorrow?
It's a long race. Keep the car clean as long as you can, and be there for the end. That's pretty much it.
I'll just get you to say the words "buy a ticket" to the end, just so Sandman can.
That's right. You just got to buy your ticket to the end.
All right, thank you very much for giving Sandman the fan service he so much desired. Thank you, mate. Good luck tomorrow.
No worries, thanks, guys.
I know Sandman. He is absolutely a big fan of your work by the sounds of things. Brady Myers, what have you seen from the lap thus far?
Yeah, so far so good. I love the HR GT-inspired livery too, but yeah, definitely not one to discount come tomorrow. Obviously a great driver, Brady, and so far so good. He hasn't got away from him too much. He's up on the curve nicely there. Down in here through to the dipper. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there. Still managed to keep it on line though, so thankfully got away with it. But yeah, that was just a little wiggle there.
Tell you that he's actually up in terms of the lap time to the first sector. Second sector was a 29.300 as well from Richard Hampstead, so he's a couple hundredths of a second up. He's half a second up now at the first sector, and you saw Hampstead saying, yeah, look, there was not a lot of accuracy in those first couple of corners. So for the pace for Brady Myers thus far through the lap has been good. What's he going to do as we get down underneath the Fuso gantry and in through the kink? It's going to be quick, it's going to be accurate, but at the same time, carry the pace all the way to the braking marker. Looks good. The tip-in point, didn't overdo it on the brakes, didn't underdo it either. Carried some nice rhythm underneath the Armorall Bridge. Will be coming down to Murray's corner. The time to beat the 2:03.667. He's on target to do that one and take current pole position. Will he improve on the lap time into the 2:02s? So he's beaten the teammate by just shy of a full second, and we have gone already quicker than we did in the shootout last year by 0.3 of a second. She's a quick track, and that is going to be a time to chase.
It was quick, but it was a tidy lap too. You could see Brady, the car wasn't giving him grief. It was up, riding up over the ripple strip nicely. So, yeah, good. Hopefully we can hear from him very shortly. But, yeah, that looked very, very tidy from Brady. I think he'd be stoked with that.
Yeah, good run from Brady Baldwin. Brady Myers, my apologies. Puts him towards pole position at the moment. Next driver in the queue, though, is going to be that of Corey Shepherd in the number 29 machine. An opportunity to attack the lap in anger. In just a few moments, partnering Jake Maloney. He's taking on qualifying duties here this afternoon. Brady Myers, last year we talked at this moment, you were the second last car to fire off, and you said to me, I wasn't happy with that. Are you a lot happier this year?
I guess it was a bit messy over the top, but gave it a good shot. Didn't really do myself any favours qualifying on the back for shootout, so track will only get better, I think. We'll see how we go. Felt like it was a decent lap, all things considered.
In terms of things, a couple words about the race tomorrow. It's obviously 1,000 kilometres worth of race length. Let's say this lap puts you just outside the top 10, maybe we're right about 10th on the road. What's the plan for going into this morning?
Probably just, take things easy and just ease into the race, but in that sort of area, nothing too crazy.
So, where do you think you're capable of is the big one?
For the race?
Yeah.
Podium. Anything short of a podium I'll be pretty down on myself with.
Right, mate. Well, best of luck. Get some good night's rest, reset, and go again tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you.
And sounding significantly confident, more confident than he was at this time last year. But Corey Shepherd has been accurate to the first couple of timing lines. Time to beat's a 46.196 first sector time. What's it going to be? 46.5, so a couple of tenths down on Brady Myers. It looks like Myers will be set for an improve in the slide for Corey Shepherd. This is the sector that Myers said he needed to do some work on.
He's having a red hot go across the top of the mountain, which we'd expect too. But I guess this is probably the chance where he can. He's up on the curve there too, so a little bit of attitude there. But this is where Brady said he wasn't too impressed with his lap, so over the top of the mountain. So I think Corey will be trying his hardest just to try and make up whatever ground he can over Brady's lap. But man, he's having a red hot go.
He is up. He's up by about 7/10 through the middle sector, so he will be now in front of the second timing line. Carried it all the way to the wall. Might have just got a touch on that one. Might be a couple clicks slow in terms of straight line speed. But for Corey Shepherd at the moment, this lap looks good enough to take him to the top of the timing charts. We'll have a few moments to wait before we'll be able to find out. Corey Shepherd steps on the anchors down here as they enter through into the chase. Tips it in. Again, carries reasonable mid-corner speed. Did he turn it in a little bit too early? Did he carry too much? Right out up on the curb. He's going to pick up some grass. Well, for Corey Shepherd, you can't say he left anything on the table. He's used every inch of the track and then some outside of it to the final corner. The run to the start-finish line. What's the final sector like? 2:03, 2:41. Quick through the middle sector. Not enough to take him to pole position. He'll sit second on the road for now for Corey Shepherd. That does say for Brady Myers, that time is a stout one.
Oh, this is here, Metal Great, right up against the wall. And that's what you need to do. You need to push it out there and be as brave as you possibly can be. And that's exactly what he did. Got the job done. And yeah, he probably won't be too thrilled with the lap, but still, like I said, there's still a lot to play out. And, you know, you don't want to wish any drama on anyone, but there's still a chance that people can fumble and you can still make up some positions.
Jake Burt is a series stalwart, and he'll be making a trip off to Spain to represent Australia as part of the FIA Motorsport Games later on in the year. Before he can get there, though, there's a Bathurst 1000 to tackle alongside partner Emily Jones. Just brought into a Hyundai Excel for 2024. And he's been going racing in that car. Reasonable success. Has been a podium, I believe, down at Winton Raceway that he was absolutely chuffed with and enjoyed the experience. He's been learning a lot. What more can you ask from him? Meantime, we'll see if we can grab a quick chat with Corey Shepherd as well. We've managed to grab him. Corey, lap has all come together there, mate. Second on the timing charts at the moment, but you looked really in control right up and across the top, but it looked like the run out of Forest Elba was where you lost a lot of the time.
Yeah, I did feel pretty comfortable across the top. It was a bit of a surprise that I was actually going to be qualifying. I only found out a few minutes ago, so it was all a bit of a shock. And yeah, hadn't really been too familiar with the qualifying car, so I sort of had to just go with the flow.
In terms of things, the quick adjustment, you're reasonably happy with the 203, 241. It's probably a little bit better, I'd say, than you would necessarily expect.
Yeah, definitely. It's sort of hard to tell what I was aiming for. I was just sort of out there just having a go and do the best I could, really.
In terms of things for you and teammate Jake Maloney tomorrow, targeting the top 10, I assume, to try and keep qualification hopes for Jake alive for the rest of the season?
Yeah, definitely aim for a top 10 and yeah, if we can go any better, obviously we'll definitely try and get a podium and yeah, we'll just see how the race pans out.
All right, mate, best of luck here for tomorrow and go and enjoy the rest of the session with the team.
Thanks very much. Cheers, mate.
Jake Burton now getting an opportunity to attack the lap in anger, has been supremely quick thus far throughout the lap. Gets it all the way up to Brock Skyline. Any points that you've noted on the lap thus far, Sam?
Nothing too over the top. It's actually been a nice drive from Jake so far. I'm excited about this pairing with him and Emily. We touched on it. Emily drove really well on Wednesday, and I think these two might be a little bit of a surprise package. I really shouldn't say surprise because they both drive really well, but you won't be able to count these two out. And yeah, so far, so what's that? Sector 2's done a 29.2, and that's about what Corey Shepherd did last time round. So hopefully he can just carry this through this last sector. And he'll be trying to knock off his teammate in Brady Myers with that 2:02.6.
Well, the sector time for Myers at Sector 1 was a 1:96, a 46.196, so he was 0.2 of a second down there. He's going to have to make it all up down in Sector number 3. Needed to make some time across the top, but you're right. I think he's about bang on with where Myers was through the middle sector. The run out of the final corner of the line. No attitude in the car. Drove it nice and cleanly back to the line. 2:02.909. Second of the drivers to get inside the 2:02s. Not good enough to go to the front row, and I can tell you, Myers was right. Track conditions are improving. The temperature's dropped a degree. For every lap that goes by in the session, that track grip, the level of rubber that's been laid down, just goes up a small amount.
Yeah, I'm curious to get thoughts on the drivers and what they think. Would they rather be one of the early cars? Do you want to be mid-pack? Do you want to be the last one on the track? You know, if that track cools down a little bit for the last car, you know, obviously sometimes that can be a nice little reward. But it was a decent lap by Jake. We've got Jake on the line now. Jake, what were your thoughts on that one, mate? P2, 2/10 behind teammate Brady Myers.
Yeah, just the second half of the lap wasn't all that flash. I had the car cracked sideways on the way into McPhillamy, which was really strange. I've never had that happen before, and it kind of just hurt my confidence a little bit. And then I sort of underdrove the way down the S's, and you know, wasn't as confident on the power coming out of the elbow, and that cost me a bit down the straight. So, you know, happy I didn't crash the car, but this place is so confidence. Confidence is so key here, and I just lost it with that little slide. So, you know, hopefully I don't drop too many spots.
Mate, I'm pumping your tyres up for tomorrow. I was impressed with Emily's speed on Wednesday, and you've had good pace throughout this evening so far. So looking forward to seeing what you and Emily can do tomorrow.
Yeah, she's been really, really solid. I think just it's the old story, Sandman, of buying the ticket to the end. I think as long as we can be in that sort of top 10 with 30 or 40 to go, there'll be a shot. So looking forward to it.
Mate, all the best. Go and get some well-earned rest tonight, and have a big crack tomorrow. Hopefully we'll talk to you at the end of it.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate.
I swear to God, we've got to go down there and tell the rest of the TTR guys. If I hear another buy ticket, I had to scrap the first one up.
It's going to be something you're going to be sick of hearing come 161 laps tomorrow, I tell you.
Hey, if I don't hear it at least 20 times out of you tomorrow, I'm going to be disappointed.
You will. We know that's what it's all about. It's the longest race that we have on our calendar, and we all know what you have to do or what you have to try and achieve.
Righto, for Dylan Rudd, gets it through Griffin's Bend, tries to really pick up a little bit more of that speed and a little bit of lap time. Remember the time to beat that first sector time, 46.196. This will be the first opportunity to sit down and take stock of what the sector times look like for the Lobs cars. Again, it's about that 1.5 tenths of a second off. So first sector time for Myers was supreme, but he said it's this middle sector where he didn't feel quite right.
Yeah, it's funny. When we looked at it from the TV camera, it didn't look too bad, but obviously the drivers get that better feel. A little bit of a saw on the wheel there for Dylan, but he obviously wasn't quite comfortable with it for the rest of the lap over the top of the mountain. So let's see what Dylan's got in store.
Big thing I did notice, the run down through the S's, did you see how much curb he took and how much that car bounced as he jostled to try and get the thing under control, tipping in both at the dipper and at the elbow quite nicely. I don't think he got a piece of that wall, but I don't think there was enough space for a slice of paper between the rear wheel and the elbow right there. So for Dylan Rudd, run down Conrod. He's up about 3/4 of a tenth of a second, so he's halved the margin to Brady Myers to the second timing line. One more timing line. Pinch of the brakes as he first steps on them on the run down through the chase. Just a touch of a lockup. Dylan Rudd is trying hard. This is your 2024 championship leader as we enter the back half of the season. Your Logitech True Force Endurance Cup leader. And he will come to the final corner, out of the final turn, driving it all the way to the line. Don't need those rear tyres anymore. 2:02.891. Myers might not feel happy with the lap time, but he's on top by 0.2 of a second right now. And that says that maybe, just maybe, there was something in that.
I reckon there'd be a little cheeky smile there from Brady Myers. Like you said, he came out 14th on the grid, and he's got himself so far top of the timesheet. So I think that time holding up for the moment is working out nicely. And have a look at that replay. Not much closer there you could get on the OG Gear replay. Thankfully, there wasn't much more wrap on the side of that, because then it could have been contact for sure.
Dylan Rudd, I'm just having a look at that replay, and there was a slight scuff on the right front corner of that car. Do you think he got the fence at any point?
Oh, not that I felt.
But in terms of things, we just had a look at the run back down and through the elbow. There was no room left out there. Do you feel like you maximised that lap? Was there anything else that was sort of left on the table?
Oh, besides nearly looping it at the cutting, it was probably underdriven at the start, but yeah, that's what you get when you can't test on the track conditions prior. But I know, long race tomorrow, so see what happens.
In terms of things, leading the championship, coming in here, leading the True Force Endurance Cup, is that the target? What's the target coming out of tomorrow? Is it, yep, we want to lock in the True Force Endurance Cup? Is it, yep, we want to maintain the margin to teammates, or hunting you down for that championship?
Yeah, I think just surviving tomorrow and leaving with a solid result is probably the main goal. Yeah.
All right, mate, best of luck for tomorrow. Get your head down and get a good night's rest.
Cheers, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, championship leader for now, Dylan Rudd, and one of the early protagonists in the chase to chase him down. When you think back to the early stages of the championship, Robbie Gibbs came away with an unlikely win from Sebring. Then they all started to clear from the dust that settled in behind them. It was Dylan Rudd and Rick Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov's going to be partnering Brody's sentence tomorrow, but they always talk about it. Don't slide the tyre in the early part of the lap, and that was a big old slide off of Hell Corner.
Just as you got the throttle in and got on the power, it just lit up a little bit. Looks pretty good up through there, though. And it's always, you're just looking at the stopwatch here, basically, aren't you? You're just trying to see what sort of time he's got. And basically, he's trying to chase that very low 46. Coming to the line now, 46.3.
So again, it's that first sector time for Brady Myers that's just keeping him alive, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to. I'd love to talk to him and find out what he sort of, you know, we touched on that he wasn't too impressed with the top of the mountain, but yeah, the first part, the sector one, was brilliant for him.
Still carrying a lot of curve as they run down through the S's for Rick Kuznetsov. Season's not necessarily gone his way, and his title fight's just about all but over as he runs down through into the elbow, but he will be very, very happy with the way 2024 is going. He's looked the best. He's dominated in terms of the driver standings out of the 9.5 Sim Sport outfit. There's only 2 of their cars that made it into top 15 shootout. He's the lower ranked of the 2 of them based on qualifying results. Timing to the second intermediate up a little bit in terms of our pole position time, but then again he's also got to go in the anchors nice and accurately, pull the car up, tip it in, looks okay as he tipped it in through the chase. He'll try and get drive out the other side under the Armour All Bridge, the run down to home when he picks up the brakes as they get down here into Murray's corner, nice and accurate. He'll run it all the way out to the curb. Unlike Burton, not a lot of wheel spin, spun it up at the start of the lap, did reasonable in the back half of the lap. So first and third sectors are where Myers has found all of his time. Everyone else has just been left chasing. They're going to have to find time up and across the mountain because Kuznetsov slots into 4th at 2:03.009. And we're going to get an opportunity, I think, to have a look at the slide out of turn 1.
And this is always tricky, isn't it? You start your lap, you turn in, and this is where he picks up the throttle and just gets away from a little bit of opposite lock there, but still, you know, managed to get out there fairly cleanly. But we've got Rick on the line now. Rick, mate, let's put you on the time boards in P4 for the moment. Tell us about your lap.
Yeah, it was a decent lap. It was a bit shaky though. Had some bad exits, a good stint, but besides that, I set up the walls, which is good. Yeah, we'll see how we go tomorrow.
Is it in the ballpark roughly of what you thought you might, or are you a little bit disappointed with your time?
I'll say it's average lap. I feel like maybe find a 10.5, 2 turns, but besides that, I'm happy to get a good lap on board.
And mate, it's a brilliant paint scheme you're carrying this weekend. I reckon that's worth a couple of tenths in itself. So, mate, I'd be pretty pumped if I was racing that one for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's mega. Sean did an awesome job making this delivery and the whole team as well.
Well done, mate. We'll let you go back and enjoy the rest of the shootout. But all the best for tomorrow, buddy, and really looking forward to seeing how you go.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, really quietly spoken, but very clean, very professional from his point of view. Likes to just get down and get to business in the way that he operates. Ethan Greengold has had a lot of opportunities throughout his career. Also, another one of our Hyundai Excel races, and indeed has found a great deal of success. Ran second earlier on in the year from the race in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. But he's also had his own share of heartbreak and failure. Blew an engine very, very early on at Phillip Island and smashed into the wall at the bus stop at Watkins Glen just after he received the new damaged model. So for Ethan Greengold, a lot stands on the line for him to gain, and for me, it's got to be a little bit of that return to confidence for him.
Again, still haven't matched that first sector that we've seen out of Brady Myers. So Myers did what was a 46.1. So, you know, still Brady still happy with that first sector that people haven't been able to get the job done so far.
Yep, now what's it going to be like up and across the top? A little bit of the excessive curb usage as they come through at the crest of the hill at McPhillamy. Reasonably accurate as they got down through the dipper, but definitely carried a touch more speed. There's probably half a tenth in that, pulls it up nicely at the elbow, gets the car tipped in, nice and early on the gas, runs it all the way up. I think he's probably the closest, apart from Dylan Rudd, to getting that concrete barrier on the exit of the elbow.
It's always a good feeling when you get the elbow right, you sort of got the foot in the throttle, and you know you're not going to lift. You know you're either going to just miss the wall or you're going to just slightly bounce off it. But it's a good feeling when you just get right up against it and you don't hit the wall and you carry that momentum.
I think the big thing to note out of all this that's gone on, Sandown, is there has been one driver who set a 29.3 in second 2. And that was Brady Myers. Everyone else in the 29.2s. How's that for your accuracy right across such a competitive field of 15 drivers? Looked a little bit shaky on the way into the final corner there for Greek Gold. I think he's lost a little bit of time, and indeed he has. So for Greek Gold, 2:03.103 is going to slot him into 5th spot, which means Kuznetsov hangs onto his lap. The guys that are really starting to improve are Brady Myers and Jake Burton. 2 of those guys set their lap very, very early on, and they are hanging on for some supreme laps so far in this session.
That's probably a valid point. I'm curious to find out whether, and we'll see if we can ask Ethan as it joins us, whether these drivers had a preference. Would they like to be one of the first to go out, or would they like to wait a little bit later? We've got Ethan on the line. Ethan, I was just asking the question, if you had your way, would you want to be out as one of the first cars out, or you want to be the last car out?
I haven't thought about it that much, to be honest. I've just been out there setting some laps. That's about it.
How was it? Tell us about your lap.
Yeah, look, the lap time's not there. I thought it would have been a bit quicker than that. It felt nice, neat and tidy, and the session I did earlier, the lap times were a fair bit quicker than that on the same track temp. So I'm not sure where the pace is. I think it might have just been a pretty bad headwind. But the other boys obviously, put down a bit better of a lap, so kudos to them.
You can't be too hard on yourself, mate. We all know that this race is probably one of the toughest ones to win, and it doesn't matter where you start, it's about where you finish. So regardless of what happens, you're still going to have not a bad, decent starting spot come the 1,000 time.
Yeah, look, as you said, it's a really long race. It's the longest of all of ours. So yeah, starting spot doesn't really matter too much, but it would have been nice to start a little bit further up, as it makes the first couple of stints a bit easier. But we'll make with what we do. I think we got a pretty quick race car. So yeah, we'll see how it all stacks up tomorrow.
Go back, go out and enjoy the rest of this one with the team, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks, Ethan. There you go. So Ethan too happy with his lap, but still at the end of the day, it could be a lot worse. And anyone who finds himself inside the top 15 at the start of this race is certainly takes a lot of pressure off these guys for sure.
Griffin Gardner moved teams in the middle of the season, left the 9.5 Sim Sports outfit to go and join Lobs Esports. Lobs Esports said they were actually chasing him from the tail end of last season. He was one of their drivers that was on the card that they wanted to come and join the party. He wasn't available at the time, made the jump mid-season, and first race out on the pole position back at Road America. Unfortunately for him, that was about all the pace that car had in it. Burned the tyres up off the start, picked up damage on lap number 1. What's he capable of doing in his shootout trim? Was a very, very strong race last time out at Sandown. And to the first sector timing line, he's the least down of anyone thus far. Only half a tenth in it when he gets down here to sector number 2. This is going to be critical. Down through the S's, down through the dipper. He's attacking this lap, Salmon. I think he looks the most aggressive in terms of that attitude.
Yeah, I think he might be able to get the job done here. He's been very close as far as the sectors. Nice exit there. He'll carry this speed all the way down. Lobs have been pretty impressive this season, haven't they? It doesn't matter who's in one of their Lobs cars. They always seem to be there or thereabouts. And, don't be too surprised if you see pretty much the entire team giving the top step a good shake tomorrow. They're an impressive outfit, and Griffin's doing all his best he can now just to try and see if he can grab provisional pole.
Yeah, and he just had to sort of grab the brake once again as they got down into the chase right there. So he got on it, got off it, had to just fractionally get back on it again to pivot the car in at the chase. Now it's the run down to Murray's corner. Little bit of curb on the inside, runs it out, no wheel spin out the other side. Reasonably good drive, 2:02.927. Didn't quite get the time out of that lap once again. And Brady Myers' time, for 14th out of the qualifying session, he has seen 8 drivers now, including himself, 7 other drivers come and go, and he's failed to pip it and stands atop the pile by a reasonable margin. We're now halfway through the session, and that is going to continue to stand as a supreme lap time. And I really want to hear from Griffin Gardner. He's had a tumultuous last year, won Scops Championship in 2023. It's been move around of the teams thus far throughout the year here, mate. You said you were very, very happy back at Road America to be working with a new group of guys. They adjusted your mindset, the way that you drive the car, and the data you had to work with. What was left on the table from that lap?
Yeah, that wasn't a great lap. Wasn't really any really big mistakes or anything. Just wasn't fast enough. I think a few sectors I probably missed the mark, but just got time on the board. You know, it's a long day tomorrow, so no worries. Focus on tomorrow.
In terms of things, like we said, you know, new opportunity, new outfit. This will be your first Bathurst 1000 with all the support around you from the Lobs Esports boys. Is winning the race tomorrow an option, given how quick Dylan Burst was on Wednesday?
Yeah, for sure. There's no reason why we can't win one Sandown, so why not do a double?
And reckon there's any chance? Well, sorry, my apologies. The True Force Enduro Cup sort of gone with the driver swappings as well. But yeah, all right. Best of luck here for tomorrow. Get the head down, see what you can pull out.
Cheers, mate.
Well, he seems supremely confident, given that we've had driver swaps for some of the other teams up and down the pit lane as well. I think Griffin Gardner's actually got a reasonable shout now that Kostecki's not going to be racing alongside Jared Firsall tomorrow.
It can go any which way, can't it? Regardless of who's in the seat and who isn't. So, yeah, I think anyone out of this entire Lob stable, they'd be all fairly confident that they can probably walk away with the win. And, you know, you don't even have to be the fastest bloke to win on Sunday. You just have to be there or thereabouts, and dare I say it, buy a ticket to the end, and, you know, you can come away with it.
Yeah, another reference to that one. And for Luke Rosella, in 2023 was the Sandown 500 winner. Will 2024 pay dividends with the Bathurst 1000 victory? Could there be a pole position in the cards? He was a couple tenths of a second off, and probably one of the slower cars we've seen thus far through sector number 1. So some work to do across the top of the mountain. But this is where Myers said he didn't feel all that quick. But again, he's the slowest. He's the second of our cars to dip into the 29.3s through that middle sector. That means there's so much pressure now as he comes off and onto Conroy.
Sector 1, I guess, hurts him a little bit too, 46.4. So, you know, he's just got a pin now. Just seeing what I think there's a few drivers from what we're hearing, a little bit surprised by the conditions that might have caught a couple of people out. So that's what the shootout's all about. You only get one lap. It's out there. Go for it and see what you got. And I think it's catching a few people out.
It's a tricky proposition. It's something that's unique. It's something you don't get to do every week here in the Logitech Pro Invitational. For Luke Rosella, he's put together a reasonable lap thus far. There'll be some complaints, though, about the first couple of sectors to the line. Manages to come away with a 23 flat, but he's dropped a lot of places. Was the 9th driver out. At the moment, 6-6 on the road, and there's probably 6 drivers who are going to go ahead of him here, so he'll lose a number of spots when we get to the end of the qualifying. So you muted up at the moment as well, so we'll wait and see if we can get that chat with Luke Rosella. He's just jumped out of the car now. Luke, it's been a rough old year. I know you've had a lot of issues, particularly in the early rounds, not having an opportunity to finish a number of races. It's all started to come together from the mid-year on. Been supported by the sponsors to get those new pedals in. How was the confidence level though with that?
Yeah, pretty good. It wasn't the best lap. Probably a little bit more conservative, but you know, happy to be in the show. It's a long race, so being quality's on board. But yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Sandman's been looking for a few words to stick on his Logitech G Hub for tomorrow about the race at large. Is there anything that comes to mind for you that's definitely going to be a contributing factor?
Just study out the cover, mate. It's all about getting the golden ticket to the last 40 laps, the last stint. Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Mate, there's a few boys to come after you. What's the confidence level sitting down in the Lobs Esports team at the moment, as with regards to the last couple of laps to come in qualifying?
Oh man, we've been obviously the informed team last, especially with the Euros. We dominated the Dragos and Sandown, so yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit, I guess, for tomorrow.
Alright, mate, best of luck for tomorrow. We're counting on you to certainly be strong at the tail end of the race, mate. Go get them and have fun.
Thanks, mate.
Well, Luke Rosella puts laps together. It was this car as well that was in with a shout of race victory in the 2023 Sandown 500. The problem being post-race safety car procedural infringement. When you talk about putting the laps together, making sure that you do every little thing right, dotting those I's and crossing those T's. And for Dylan O'Shea, touch wide when he gets to Griffin's Bend, charging hard in, leaving nothing on the table in search of ultimate glory from the shootout.
Love the paint scheme, Shell, or DJR inspired paint scheme. Really looks the business, and we're looking at the times now, 46.6, so it looks like he's a good half a second off what Brady Prize was for Sector 1, so he won't be too happy with that, but now he's just got to try and minimise the damage and see if he can just push on and see what he can get.
Might be targeting maybe right around that 203 marker, right up and into the grass as he crosses up through McPhillamy, down through the S's, doesn't quite bounce the car. Midpoint of the S's, reasonably accurate, tips the car in. Lots of bouncing up and down as they get down through the tipper as well. Trying to carry on with it is Dylan O'Shea. A little bit of a wiggle as he got in the braking zone for the elbow. Doesn't quite carry the speed out. Does use all the racetrack. And as they get through this session, cars are looking less and less settled, Sam, and they're really not quite happy on the run down through the dip and through the middle of the lap.
Yeah, I'm just curious about... I was a bit surprised, as disappointed as what Brady was saying that he was, but the way his time's holding on, I think he'd be sitting there doing backflips at the moment.
14th in the qualifying session, could become the pole position time, is still the time to beat for the driver, the 22 from Trans-Tasman Racing. What has the final of the 9.5 SimSport drivers got to say about this one? For Dylan O'Shea, out of the final corner, gets the line 2:03.5. Will not be happy with that one. That might be 14th on the grid because that was not a put-together lap time from Dylan O'Shea.
Yeah, my concerns were straight away with Sector 1. I thought the same way, 46.1 in Sector 1, so the time just sort of slipped away from him there on in. But, we're going to... People are going to be sick about hearing about it. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. So, yeah, it may not have been the greatest drive to grab pole position, but nevertheless, it's all going to come down to where he finishes and where that team can finish tomorrow.
Mate, Dylan O'Shea, not the most put together lap. It looked like you were a fraction wide when you got to Griffin's Bend, so just carried it just a touch too much speed in, slid it all the way up to the walls we're just seeing on the replay here at the moment, mate. I get the feeling probably not going to be the happiest with that lap.
It's absolutely atrocious, but long race tomorrow, so not really too concerned about it.
Mate, in terms of things, we're just talking about everything that went on during the 2023 Sandown 500. We were so close to victory all the way back then. Another opportunity to go big here tomorrow in the bigger races tend to really show up when Enduro season comes around.
That's Sandown. This is Bathurst, so we'll see what happens. Long race, 1,000 Ks, so I don't know, just see where we end up. Just got to stay out of trouble, I guess.
Mate, I've now heard that about 10 times out of everyone up and down.
That's pretty common in these Enduro. Especially this new damage model. Charging off the top.
Well, that's one of the things that we're sort of talking about. In the race runs, obviously there's a lot of risk. You run the cars right up against the fence just about the entirety of the way up. How much does the new damage model actually come into the sort of making decision making about the way you do the setup of the car?
I don't know about setup. Wouldn't change anything about setup. Probably just... to be honest, I don't even think about it. I mean, if you think about it too much, you're going to go into the fence. So, yeah, you kind of just got to do your prep and make sure you're on your marks. And if you miss, then say goodbye.
All right, mate. As usual, you have one mode. It's complete and utter full send, brother. So,
Bloody oath.
like tomorrow. And look, you're known for... Look, sometimes there's a lot of people out there...
We'll wait till the end of the race. I'll try and be conservative at the start.
I'm looking forward to that, mate. I always like hearing from you every single time, mate. Go and enjoy it, celebrate, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Everyone, Scott, thank you.
Thanks, brother. Look, he's a polarising personality in terms of the sim racing audience. They all said that about Griffin 4 or 5 years ago, and look at what he's been able to do of late. Andrew Gilliam will get the opportunity to set the stage alight. Race victory back at the start of the True Force Endurance Cup. James Golding, co-driver for tomorrow. He's won a race in the last 2 years worth of racing action. Last year, spent a lot of time focusing on getting through university, getting the head screwed on and focused on 2024. And for Andrew Gilliam, in with a shout of a championship this year, Sandman, he is looking better than ever.
Yeah, keen to see what this first sector time is, and it was interesting to hear from him through the week after how the cars performed on Wednesday night. The question was put to the teams whether they'd make adjustments before the big one, and he was definitely a yes. So his time's not bad, 46.2. 46.1 was done by Myers in Sector 1, so he's there or thereabouts so far.
0.03 of a second he is off of Brady Myers through sector number 1. That allows him to go to work across the top. He's going to try and carry as much speed, a touch wide. McPhillamy didn't quite get the car all the way back across the left-hand side of the road. Doesn't bounce the tyres as they get down through the S's, which means he's been able to carry a little bit more pace. This looks accurate. This might be the first of the times that might jump up towards the top of the timing charts. He'll get it down into the elbow. Looked accurate. There was no wiggling under the braking zone. Powered out early and carried it all the way to the fence. I agree, Sandman. I think this one might just be what we've been searching for.
Yeah, that one looked really good just down to the elbow there. Got the power down and just looked planted. So we can see on board he's just obviously foot flat to the floor now. He's only got a couple more turns to get this done. But he may be a real threat here to knock off Brady Myers.
Well, down into the chase. What's he got? Doesn't quite pick up the curve. That looks about the perfect line when he tips it into the chase. Carries the speed out. No grass as he gets out to the right-hand side before coming underneath the Armour All Bridge. Will he pick up the curve? Nice and accurate at the final corner for Andrew Gilliam. A few moments stand between him and Bathurst Glory. He goes quick. He is going to be 200ths of a second. 23 thousandths of a second from current pole position. There is nothing in this qualifying session now, and there are only bigger and better times to come. There are 4 more drivers to go, and Brady Myers is looking like a masterclass at this point in time.
The funny bit is he wasn't impressed with the lap, so and he's still holding on here. So after 10 other cars have gone after him, he's still holding on to P1.
Mate, Gilly, an opportunity to chat to you now. I know we were just talking through it. I caught up with you early in the season. You said 2023, I just focused on a couple of little individual races. This year, the season together. And the championship picture, it's starting to look good for you as well. You're zeroing in. You sit third in the championship. That qualifying lap right there, that goes a long way towards maybe having a crack at the title.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, at least it's an opportunity to start sort of up the front and ensure we have a cleaner start to the race. But yeah, just couldn't quite maximise the lap, unfortunately. Brady's done a really good job there.
In terms of things, where do you think you lost it? Because it was very, we were talking 300ths of a second at Sector 1. You were up by 700ths of a second at Sector 2. So all up, you were 400ths accurate through the middle sector, right on top of the game. What happened in Sector 3?
I don't know. It just had no straight line. Like, I think the wind's gusting around a fair bit. Like, I broke at the 150 board, which is the latest I broke all week, and I still pulled it up too early. So, yeah, it just feels like maybe the wind earlier in the session was a bit in Brady's favour. But, yeah, otherwise, myself, I think I went a bit too easy into Turn 1. Used a lot of curb there, like, just had a lot more front than I expected. Felt absolutely beautiful out of the cutting and across the top. Didn't bowl it wide at McPhillamy like I did last year, and yeah, tidy down the hill. I could watch the delta just slowly ticking away at me the whole way down Conrod. So I reckon, yeah, it's a bit of straight line.
Best of luck here for tomorrow, and at the moment looking like it might be on the front couple of rows. So good luck.
Thank you very much.
Righto, Andrew Gilliam's going to sit back and take a little bit of a break now as he settles in and watches the teammates later on in the session. In the meantime, the final of the Trans-Tasman racing cars, Joshua Anderson, known for the terminology understeer. And the front end just won't seem to grip up. In the meantime, trying to put a mean time through the first couple of sectors, and he's slow at the Sector 1 timing line, and you've got to be quick at the first sector time to be quick here today.
Yeah, car looks good. He's only a fraction down for Sector 1. Just trying to see what speed he can carry across the top of the mountain. Another good-looking car with that Holden Racing Team inspired livery. Nice and close, just seeing what he's got there. So 29.3, a little bit down. Nice shallow run in there. Sometimes that worries me sometimes, but obviously he's quite comfortable with that. Oh, we've lost him. No, thankfully. heart and mouth stuff there. I thought he might have been dropping out of the session there and we would have lost his lap time.
Well, that's what it looks like in terms of perhaps what the sectors are going to look like in the amount of time that he's lost to Brady Myers at this point in time. Looks like he was down almost about 600ths of a second. The wind, I can tell you, just died off a fraction as he came out of the elbow. That's just luck. That's timing for when you get an opportunity to have a crack at this lap. For Joshua Anderson, the run down to the final corner. There are going to be 3 more drivers after he crosses this start-finish line. For Joshua Anderson, who'll run it out of the final corner to the line. What's the time on the board going to be? 2:03.018. For the driver who ran out of 4th in the qualifying session. Not quite able to put the lap time together. I tell you what, it was only 9 thousandths of a second off of Rick Kuznetsov's time as well. So they are incredibly close in the middle of this 15 as well. And an opportunity for Sandman to have a bit of a quick chat here with Josh Anderson.
Yes, Ando's joined us now. Josh, tell us about your lap, mate.
Yeah, mate. Pretty undercommitted, to be honest. So, I've gone alright in shootouts in the past. This wasn't one of them.
We're just curious on whether sort of the track conditions have sort of caught people by surprise. Whether the argument would have been better if you got to choose. Would you have liked to have gone early in the session, or would you have gone, a little bit later? Or has it just come down to lady luck, you think?
No, not luck, mate. It's just I just didn't do a good enough job. That's basically it. The track was there. Like, Brady's done a mega job. Like, hats off to him. Because it was a hotter track when he did the lap. But I just wasn't committed enough.
Well, the beauty is, mate, 161 laps, so you've got all day to climb. Doesn't matter where you start this one. Obviously helps when you're a little bit closer to the front. But
yeah, exactly.
Mate, a long way to go. And no doubt you're going to enjoy every lap.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah. A bit disappointed with myself there, but such a long race. I think the car's fast. Just sometimes you don't get the lap in. But interesting. Looking forward to going racing tomorrow.
All right, all the best. Rest up and mate, cheer on the boss. I think the boss is about to start his lap.
He's going to go do a 2:02.1, I think.
Oh, there you go. He's called it.
Yeah.
All right, thanks,
you,
Josh. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, for Madison Down, driving on board with the number 1 on side of his car. At this stage, he is in with a championship shout just. It's a very, very long way back, though. He'll need a whole host of points and a bunch of guys ahead of him to have huge dramas on Bathurst Sunday tomorrow for his championship to recover for the remainder of the season. So he's going to sit here. He's going to enjoy this lap and going to enjoy this opportunity as third from the qualifying session, third last driver to take to Shootout. He tipped it in and he looked like he turned in just a fraction early at the cutting because he had to unwind the wheel again.
Just look at all the time's hurt him too. He's lost a big chunk of time. So a 46.7 across that first sector. So he's lost a big chunk of time. So he'll be kicking himself a little bit about that as this lap goes on.
Well, yeah, he's dropped off 0.5 of a second at the moment for Madison Down, which is uncharacteristic of him, and he is throwing this car around in the middle sector to try and find some of that back. The track has cooled down just a fraction as the temperatures start to come to us. 4:45 p.m. in sim time, and he slid that car off of the elbow, trying to get to the throttle pedal, trying to find drive, trying to find lap time.
Yeah, he wasn't too far off in the second sector, but unfortunately it's just a big time loss for that first sector that he needs to make up. So he's wringing its neck. It's really cool to see Madison Down in these old Tats livery colours, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to be P1 for him this afternoon.
Yep, tips it in now down at the chase. That looked a little bit more accurate, like he might have carried a touch more apex speed. There might be some lap time in it in this third and final sector, but it's been scrappy to this point on the lap. He's going to be disappointed with that one, you will have no doubt. Tips it in at the final corner. That was nice and accurate. Carried some speed on the run to the line. 2:03.274. And that will be a disappointment for Madison Down. The highest he will start tomorrow will be 11th spot. Can you remember 1,000 where Madison Down started outside the top 10?
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you, and we touched on this in qualifying, is that it doesn't matter how well you do in qualifying, it's all about putting it together in the shootout. So, but, you know, the old adage, long race, and, you know, he'll be able to bounce back.
Madison, that didn't look pretty all the way through to the first sector time, and you were down from there, and it looked like you just chased the lap. It looked like you turned in a touch too early at the cutting, and you had to unwind the wheel and have another crack at it.
Yeah, it wasn't a great lap right from the start, really. We got turn 1 right, and that was about it. So, yeah, just didn't really feel like we had the grip there. Yeah, it felt a little bit slippery at turn 1, underdrove turn 2 a little bit, hit the inside curb, didn't quite get the cutting right. You know, it goes on throughout the lap, so not a great performance by myself, but yeah, I expected a little bit more grip than what we had there. But anyway, I think we got a good car, so we'll see how tomorrow goes.
Mate, I'm not going to even ask which commentator you think has picked you to win the race tomorrow. I think you already know. But in terms of things, a lot of confidence for Rehan Leonage coming out of Wednesday night. So you're at least sitting there and going, our driver combination, we're at least comfortable feeling really, really strong about this because you're in with the top couple of co-drivers.
Yeah, 100%. We've got a really good combination. Rehan's done a great job in the first 2 races we've done together. And yeah, as I said, I think we've got a pretty good race car. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously a lot of experience in the team as well, so we always tend to go pretty well.
Mate, in terms of things, a little bit deeper, you're outside of the 10 in terms of where you're starting. Do you remember a Bathurst 1000 where you started outside of the top 10?
Started outside the top 10 in quite a few, I think. So yeah, we'll see what happens. This is going to be key to stay out of trouble at the start, but yeah, eyes forward till Sunday.
Mate, best of luck tomorrow. Get down, get some rest, and go and celebrate with Rehan and focus on the race, mate.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Well, you could just hear how unhappy he certainly was with it, but eyes are forward. He's looking at the race tomorrow, and that's the big target, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Everyone we've spoken to, even although Brady's top of the timesheets at the moment, even he wasn't overly impressed with his lap. But isn't it funny? Everyone's just come back going, yeah, wasn't that great? You know, don't know. The grip wasn't there, or couldn't quite work out why it didn't feel quick. But it feels like the same story. But now James Scott is on screen, and he'll be seeing if he can have anything for Brady Myers. And our attention turns to that sector 1 time. We'll see what he's got.
Yeah, and he'll come up on the line, and he's exactly matched to the 1,000th of a second. That is Brady Myers' time. So we have now got a pole position battle on our hands. First driver since Brady Myers set the 46.196 to dip below a 46.2. James Scott is wrestling this thing up and across the top of the mountain. It looked accurate in the first sector, and it's looking pacey here as well.
Yeah, he'll be stoked. As soon as you see that first sector split come up, he'll know that he's sort of there or thereabouts now. So he's going to push on with this and know that he's actually got a real chance to knock Brady off.
And I think there's going to be about 5 or so thousandths of a second in it when they get to the second intermediate. Now he's whacked the wall as he comes off and onto Conrod Straight. Now he's got to find some time. He's going to be a fraction down in terms of straight line speed. The lap time, it's still going to count as he runs down and underneath the Fuso Bridge. This could have been aborted. This could have been costly in terms of what his lap time's going to be. You'll get to the 150 marker. For James Scott, there's so little left in terms of this lap. 3 corners becomes 2. The first guy that's been able to possibly challenge Brady Myers, and could that moment on the elbow have cost him?
Coming into the last corner, he's got to chase down a 202.691 out of the last corner. He's going to cross the line at 202.704, just a fraction off. But boy, oh boy, the Chargers are now starting to make their way towards Brady, with a James Scott only 0.013 of a second behind.
With 1 driver left to go, your top 3 are covered by 23 thousandths of a second. Your
That
top 3
is awesome. Now, no doubt this will be a replay. Oh, yeah, he did. He clobbered it. Hey, how much did he miss out by pole? That may have just cost him just that tiny little bit.
And James Scott's going to join us here to have a chat about that lap now. 13 thousandths of a second is sitting between you and provisional pole at this point in time, mate. If we saw the moment, there's no way we couldn't have missed that moment on the way out through the elbow. You threw everything at that lap. and there was nothing in it at the line.
Yeah, no, I had to have a go. Yeah, the lap was pretty average, to be honest. There's plenty of time left out there, so I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if we saw like Jared 4.4 or something. But yeah, no, there's plenty more time out there.
Mate, the sector times to the end of the second sector, just before you got down into the elbow, we were looking at thousandths of a second at that point in time. How much do you think the moment actually cost you?
Yeah, fair bit. The wind seems to be a bit all over the place in the service, so it's hard to really say. But yeah, no, it's average lap, but that will start somewhere near the front tomorrow.
Mate, towards the front, Ryan obviously had success here on Wednesday night for the 1,000. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, obviously Ryan's really fast. Car feels pretty good in race trim. So yeah, see what we end up with.
Mate, best of luck at the head down, and maybe it'll be back-to-back Bathurst victories to cap off the season. Well, one more driver left to run. We've had 14 drivers have a crack at this one and see what they can put onto the board. For Jared Filsell, he's been so quick of late. He's in with a hunt of a championship for 2024. He sits second on the table, and there should have been a Sandown 500 victory to his name. Strategy took it away from him in the dying stages of that session. A driver change that was worth 30 seconds and fuel worth less than that was the blunder that he had, and he slides it out into the fence there as they come underneath the tree. Sandman, he is pushing.
Yeah, he's having a red hot go. He just got a little bit cross. Oh, he's made massive contact there as well. He is really having a go now. He knows that there's nothing left to on the table. He just needs to wring its neck. So a couple of little costly moments where he's bounced off the wall. This time is still there though. So he's not going to, I don't think he's going to drop outside the 10 so far, but man, he is absolutely pushing this thing.
Well, 29.250, so there was time in it that he made back up in the middle sector. He was down by 1/10 when they got to the end of the first sector. The best time all night from qualifying, 46.196 to the first sector time. Two of the drivers have said it. Filsa will make up time on both of them at the middle sector. Could we be looking at a Bathurst 1000 pole position that will be decided in less than 1/100th of a second? He'll get to the anchors down here. The final lap time for your 2024 shootout. One more corner left to go. Jared Filsell has been on form throughout the last few races. The man to beat in terms of pace. What's it look like? Murray's corner, the run to the line. You've been waiting for this moment. Pole position, who's got it? 2:02.819. Brady Myers will take pole for the 1,000. And Filsell made mistakes on that lap. I am so keen to hear what he's got to say.
Wow, so that P4 start for Jared Filsell, but a massive congratulations. Brady Myers taking out pole at 2:02.691 for the 1,000. This is just one of the moments that Jared had. Look at it sideways. Makes contact with the wall. Oh, does he get away with it just there? But he made contact with us. The lap went round and, man, he was wringing its neck and left nothing on the table.
And that's the thing, isn't it? He really, really had a crack. There was nothing. There were no inches left. There was a few bumps. There was a few scrapes. Jared, you've been quick this year. There's no doubt about that. The number of cars you've had to overtake at different times throughout the season, mate. We thought for sure that was going to be another pole position heading your way, but that's the mountain. It comes up, it grabs, and it bites you in just ways you're not expecting.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool lap. A lot less grip than anticipated, but no, it was really good. End of the lap was quite scrappy. The elbow was quite poor. I didn't really get a good exit there, so yeah, all ifs, buts, maybes. It was yeah, a bit average from my behalf, but congrats to Brady to go from Narnia to P1. That's pretty impressive.
Mate, in terms of the 1,000 tomorrow, we've obviously heard that there's a very, very late co-driver change. From Thomas's perspective, how's he gone with been trying to able to get the amount of required laps to make him feel comfortable this close to the 1,000?
He's been doing a lot of laps with us, so he's not completely underprepared. But no, he'll do good. He'll stay out of trouble, do what's required, bring the car back to me safe, and I'll get in it and do the rest. So no, he's done a lot of laps in the prep as well, just getting on and helping the boys out. So no, he's definitely well prepared for this one.
Mate, in terms of things, obviously the last few races, I think there's some results on the table that have perhaps gone begging. That requires an adjustment when you head into the 1,000 tomorrow. We've already heard everyone's just saying, look, just got to keep the car alive, make sure that we're there when it counts. The approach from you, do you change anything like that? Do you just make sure you go back through everything and just tighten those screws, tighten those belts, just make sure that you're doing every little thing right tomorrow? How do you change?
Yeah, there's a few procedural things that we've come unstuck with in both Enduros. Obviously, Interlagos hurt us a lot, as well as a few other cars. Sandown was just a bit of operator error with the driving and the strategy, so I'm sure we'll come back strong here and just take it one lap at a time here. It's such a hard race to put yourself in the right position at the end and get through unscathed through multiple ways around this race.
In terms of things for tomorrow, I know Sandman's chasing just a few quotes and clips that he can stick up on the board behind you. Is there anything in particular that you're saying, this is what we've got to do to get to that line first tomorrow?
A clean car would be ideal, and then obviously managing your fuel throughout the whole race is quite crucial, and just trying to stay on top of everything in terms of safety cars that might spring up at the opportune moment to get an extra few litres in, or vice versa, and not get stung with a driver swap deficit time like we did at Sandown. That really hurt us.
Mate, finally, like we said, pace has been phenomenal. You're on form in terms of the driving capabilities. Best of luck here tomorrow. Get the head down and get a full night's rest. I think that's a big key.
Thank you.
And finally, we are going to get an opportunity to chat to the man who's going to be starting from pole position. We talked to him at the end of the lap 13 drivers ago. Brady, you weren't feeling confident, but that lap just kept looking better and better and better.
Yeah, when I spoke to you earlier, I was fairly despondent. I didn't really think that time would actually hold up to everything. And then as people were going, I was getting still there. And then when first one was Gilliam, I kind of thought, God, Gilliam's got us. Then James didn't get. Well, he came close, but yeah. And then I don't know. it just happened.
You're pinching yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, first Bathurst pole, so I'm and to do it in that sort of way, I'm kind of shocked actually, just to come from nowhere basically.
Mate, that's the beauty of the shootout, and I mentioned this to Scott in the broadcast, is that it doesn't matter. You know, the first goal is to make that top 15, and then you don't know who's going to grab it, and you don't have to be pole position leading into the shootout to be the person. You came back from 14th on the grid, so and to come away and start Bathurst 1000 on pole, I mean that's a huge shot in the arm for you.
Yeah, it is. It's I feel a little bad for Ethan. He's going to have to pull up his big boy pants tomorrow.
He's excited. No doubt the excitement will be through the roof now.
Yeah, everyone's going off. It's good to get a TDR pole, and likely last one for Holden. So amazing.
Finally, is who do you want to give the thank yous and shout outs to? I get the feeling that session was actually quite a lot of fun to sit back and watch, because you got the lap out there very early and then you just got to sit back and watch. So all the hard work's done and just get to enjoy this.
Yeah, it was hard work, but stressful, especially for the last 5. I just didn't know what was going to happen. But yeah, big thanks to everyone at TBR. We've been working around the clock just to make this car work, and just massive shout out to everyone. Thanks to Xtrim, to TP Race Design, Card Effects, Ethan, to Cole Warwick Designs for designing the car. It's great to have HRT on pole. That's mega. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Thank you.
Mate, congratulations. Go and celebrate with the team. And I get the feeling there's a few fist pumps that are about to go off.
Yeah, maybe a few.
Well
Don't
done,
celebrate
mate.
too hard. Bathurst 1000 tomorrow, brother.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to the very end of the top 15 shootout. What a moment for Brady Myers. And like he said, the very last pole position could be the very last pole position for the Holden ZB Commodore. Sandman, 15 laps in the book, qualifying for the rest. It's all done and dusted. Now you just sort of take that list up, you scrumple it up, you throw it in the rubbish bin. What is tomorrow going to bring us?
Mate, if I had a crystal ball, I don't even know if that'd be able to predict it. This race each and every year just it continues to amaze us, and it's funny, we were talking about it on off air, is that who knows who's going to grab pole, as long as you make the top 15, and it's come from 14th position. Brady's grabbed it, and what a cool stat that he'd mentioned. I didn't even think about that it could be the last pole for Holden at Bathurst, and he's running the HRT colours. It's just it's pretty cool. I've already been pumped for this race leading up to it. We had the golden ticket on Wednesday night, and then of course we've had the qualifying, the shootout, we've had some Porsche action, but now it all comes down to the 1000 tomorrow, and I just can't wait.
Feels a little bit like Christmas, because we're going to be getting gifts all day long. This race never fails to deliver, and if you want to be here to unwrap your Christmas gift just a few months early, you'll have to be joining us in about 13 hours time from right now. That is when we'll be back here and live tomorrow morning to bring you all the coverage from the Bathurst 1000 Sunday. We will have a live guest with us all day throughout the booth. Zach Caban's going to be joining us to add to the commentary flavour. We'll be talking to some of the drivers who are in elation. We'll be drawing to some of the drivers who are in commiserations. Mount Panorama, it gives, it takes, and it decides who the champion is. Brady Myers has started well last year, finished on the podium last year, but James Scott won the race last year. We'll be starting alongside of him. He started off a pole position last year, so he knows what the front row of this track looks like. All of the drama, all of the excitement, all of the action. 1,000 kilometers of grueling racetrack in one of the hardest cars to drive for that duration. That's what you've all got to look forward to. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Sandman, on behalf of myself, the sponsors, Playseat, OG Gear, the gamesman who brought us the Porsche Cup Challenge here earlier tonight, on behalf of Logitech and everyone else that makes this series possible, Bathurst 1000 Sunday is on the other side of a good night's rest. We'll see you all then to decide your 2024 Bathurst 1000 champion.
Hi, I'm Brendan Leach, driver of the number 7 Audi R8 or MPC Audi Custom Racing. First impressions of OG Gear on the sim, fantastic. It feels really nice in your hands and doesn't gather up under your fingers. The sock, very breathable for me. I get sweaty feet when I'm on simulator. I know that's not the nicest thing to say. It has just the right amount of grip because your feet do just naturally move around on the pedals a little bit, and I like the way that they give you that freedom but also give you that stability that you need.
We are gaming fanatics. Our goal has never been to just play games. We think it's much better to feel like you're actually in the game.
Weekend in, weekend out, Motorsport Australia officials are making waves. From waving flags, waving cars through pit lane, or responding to a wave for help. Wave hello to new lifelong friends. Who knows, you might just make waves around the world. Ride the first wave. Search Motorsport Australia officials today.